Was that counting you wanted me to go now?
You go.
Oh. This is what I like to do. I like to be awkward about it. So this is Caleb. Welcome to, I guess this is a dual thing. I'll kind of recover it. Welcome to the dose of awkward. dose of nerd
I'm on a different
audio.
show.
If you can't see us, this is the SpoilerCast through DNA. So I guess welcome all of all ages, sizes, colors, and backgrounds.
I feel like we should stress that like a couple of times. Spoilers. There will be
Spoilers,
spoilers.
absolutely.
For Endgame.
Yeah, spoilers. Not the type that you put on the back of your car, because I looked at cars in the driveway. No one has spoilers. There's
No
a couple
spoilers
fins.
there.
No one
This
does.
is spoilers
Weird.
as it pertains to the movie.
Cars are spoiler free. This
is-
cast is not.
Correct. And just to kind of cover our grounds here, this is not, Charlotte's Web. We're not talking about spoilers for that. We're talking about spoilers for Avengers Endgame. Just want to make sure everybody understands. If you came here to see spoilers for Charlotte's Web or Babe, you missed it by a couple
We're
of
going to
years.
do it anyways.
Do you have the background running? It's stuck on Paramount.
No, it is stuck on Paramount.
Yeah.
I don't think I unpaused it. That's my bad.
That's okay. I just wanted to catch that before we're just sponsoring Paramount for 4 hours. But we're not doing this for 4 hours, so don't worry.
We might.
Really? Well, you're
It's a
here.
possibility.
You are here.
Andrea stated that I could just talk forever.
So, of course, we know now you were Caleb. As we talked about, what should we go by? I mentioned during our podcast together whether we should go by names or handles. And this, I had mentioned that was a conversation we had in the beginning.
Yeah, and then we did not really discuss it tonight at all.
No, it didn't make it into our bullet point discussion.
Whoops.
I do like some sort of a handle. I like to have a alter persona while I'm on screen or mic. So you can call me Belak if you want. You can call me Caleb. I really don't care. Just don't call me late for snacks.
Yeah.
I have nothing funny. I'm just Travis.
Okay.
I'm Kevin. Not so silent Bob. Not Raven Knight.
That's true. He is not Raven Knight.
He is not Raven Knight.
Raven Knight doesn't get on cam. That's the distinction.
The gamer formerly known as Raven Knight.
Yeah.
Is that a can of Ons?
Yes.
Yes.
How nice of you to notice.
Why is his?
So yes, for those of you in chat,
You're behind the mic.
we're going to try to reach out and answer any questions or your
What is
feedback.
this crap?
What?
What am I, canned tuna?
That's awkward. You did leave him out of
You
the
did.
intro.
Everybody got
I
it.
thought you said yours.
Something about the can of uns, and then
Go ahead.
He doesn't
Talk.
get any.
Talk.
You guys know who I am.
Talk.
Unfortunately.
The producer seducer, as
Yeah.
you guys used to call me.
Yeah.
Locksteady, Rob. They're going to call me Rob most of this, I'm sure.
Lobsteady.
Lob.
Lobsteady is accurate because I'm always red in the face.
Rob Lobster.
I'm just gonna. I'm gonna make sure that we get
Rob
sponsored.
Lobster.
Oh yeah.
It's
We
coming.
got a lot of sponsors. Mine's chocolate milk.
It's actually Coca-Cola.
I would
Save it
love
for
to
my
get
face
sponsored
tomorrow.
by
You
chocolate
guys
milk. Are
tried
you
this
kidding
one?
me?
Rain.
No.
I'm enjoying it.
Is it Roman?
I have no idea. I don't know. But it's clear, so I feel like it's a little less syrupy. Like it's not like the monster ones are not clear. I don't know. Give it a
Henry
try.
just said hashtag Raven Knight too.
So for those of you questioning, you can earn strands during any one of our live shows on the Switch channel that's applicable. Whether it be the weekly dosage, whether it be podcasts, whether it be NEW, you always earn strands by watching.
Yeah.
So to
You guys
clarify
can
those.
tell I've got my laptop up here. Travis has his iPad going over there. He and I are both actively monitoring the chat. Obviously, the idea behind this is to ultimately cut the audio out to have it actually just be an addition
That's not how it looks.
of the Dose of
I'm
Nerd
just
Audio
blocking you out.
podcast. So we're not going to ignore the chat, but we're not going to be reading it out quite as much. Or let me rephrase. We're not going to be reacting to it quite as much in the same way as we normally do.
See what Andrea said.
Yeah.
I can see.
So what
She said, "What'd you do to my dining room window?" Because
Awkward.
trailers. It was your husband. He did it.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it looks cool.
I like that Mambo Wombo Blue Rock Star.
Mango.
We'll stay out of this.
Anyway, so that's the gimmick with the chat. We are watching it. We are going to interact with you guys, of course, but long term, this is not necessarily for visual archive. It is going to get released as a straight up podcast later. So, we'll read out some things and respond to you guys, but it's going to be less than normal, really.
That's why I was trying to kind of. We ready for my prop?
So anyway, are we ready for the
I mean,
prop?
is it?
I don't.
is it
It's a
that early already?
surprise.
There's no thing to trigger it to happen.
No, he just
like
wanted
a-
to wait till we could.
We can't back out. So there's no way to.
I know that's why I figured it was. What
I had a
what
feeling.
goes in here?
My nos.
Oh,
It's a
that's
cup?
drink.
Can
Yeah.
you get the straw and the cap out?
That's,
It's a cup.
where did you find that?
It's not a koozie.
My sister actually got it from Disney
There you
Cruise for me.
Oh, and it has a straw.
Help me
Okay.
out.
Oh, Harry.
Awkward.
Anyway,
What?
so
Pour it in there.
I was gonna say,
Hold
well,
on,
he's
shh.
dealing
I hope it
with
lights
this.
up.
It doesn't, unfortunately.
Well, the Hulk is very angry about what you're doing right now.
Okay, that sounds more like pee
Is
than
this
that.
ASMR?
Something like that.
It's pissing Mark.
No, seriously, that was really good timing because while you were doing that, directly between the
You
two
can
of
fit
you,
this
the
whole
Hulk
can.
trailer
The
was
Hulk
playing,
trailer.
and Hulk was just
Oh my God.
at him.
Yeah,
That
I
is
asked my sister to
impressive.
get one
Wow.
for me because she goes on cruises because she married.
Will
into
it
a
stand
thing.
on its own? Like, are we danger
Yeah,
of
it
tipping?
sits. No, I'm gonna keep it on my arm the whole time just to
Okay.
be safe. But yeah, it
So that's fun. We have props. I don't have a prop.
the time zone.
Do you guys
sound
have
just
props?
clicks in.
Nobody else got props. So
No,
props
that's
to you.
awkward.
I mean, technically, Caleb and I brought props.
Pops.
Pops.
I mean, yeah, also, yes. Okay.
So
Yeah,
what I
Trevor
actually
has
want to
one, too.
open this up with before we did our bullet points, I kind of want to see you guys on the spot. 1 year ago, you and I and Kevin, among others, went to see Infinity War.
Yeah.
The movie basically ended with, and then some downfall digression of that,
Yeah.
and left us all with
What the fuck?
WTF.
Quietest theater I've ever. Like the theater was dead silent after that movie. It was brutal.
So flash forward, not 5 years,
Thank God.
but a year.
Jeez, that would suck.
That was the longest year to wait for this conclusion of the story arc. Because we all had
Unquestionably.
ideas of what possibly could happen if you read any of the
There were
comics.
so many theories.
But ultimately, we didn't know for sure because they've changed so much throughout the course of the MCU. What did you guys do to pass time over that year?
Well,
I mean, we had the Netflix Marvel shows to hold us over. We
That's
had
true.
those shows.
Yeah.
I try not to think about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's true. I literally tried not to think about the possibilities, like what could happen. I mean, there were assumptions I had made just because of what the real actors said about the end
about
of
where
their-
we go from here.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
they go from there. Like Chris Evans said he was out. Downey said he was out, but he said he wanted to do more.
That was the thing. We started seeing not just picture wraps for these actors, we started seeing series wraps.
Yeah,
we
like
had
Chris
confirmation
Evans,
of
like,
they're
it was
done with these
beautiful,
characters.
goodbye,
Yeah, and
long.
prior to Infinity War, we had multiple rumors pop up that they were in talks to do a fourth Iron Man movie. It was in various stages of production. And then post Infinity War, nothing.
We still don't
Disney-
know where we're going from
Yeah,
there.
Disney and
Raven
Marvel
says-
got real
yeah,
quiet.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
But
and
I wouldn't have had it any
Yeah.
other way because any news, anything else, starts
Yeah,
to lead us
it
towards
would've
things.
spoiled.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I mean, here we are on the other side of it. It's easy enough to talk about.
Yeah,
but
for me, the way I killed my time was just, so I would say slow and steady research. Nothing, I didn't really, I don't know, I wasn't trying to guess or plan or have hopes of what could happen. I just wanted to, let it come naturally to me. I did read the Infinity Gauntlet comic book. One of my brother-in-laws lent it to me, and so that was cool to read and to kind of know the canon behind the story of, how it kind of wrapped up there. But I had assumed that it wasn't going to go down quite like that because none of the movies really
They
stuck
never really,
straight to it. But that's kind of what I did versus, I don't know, just I didn't really go to the theaters, didn't watch a whole lot of movies between that one and this one, I guess.
Did you see the Marvel movies that dropped in the interim?
Ant-Man and the
Ant-Man
Wasp.
and
Captain
Marvel.
I did, and I'll talk about those, I guess, later on when we cover some of that stuff.
I gotta say, Ant-Man and the Wasp was kind of a twist of the knife.
Oh yeah,
its
the
post-credit
the post-credit
sequence.
scene. That was just one more like.
Reminder that this is still coming.
Remember what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little.
That
cool.
was almost in itself. I mean, it was almost a spoiler. It's just because like they stressed how much the quantum realm was, a thing, and then he shows up in the trailer. It's like they made sure you knew like quantum realm. They said it a bunch of times. And
Watch
then,
out for that time vortex.
Yeah. So I mean, the speculation was heavy that it was going to deal with time travel, and
Yeah.
lo and behold.
Which we'll get to that, the conversation of whether we think that was a good or bad thing, I'm sure.
I do want to lump a couple of chat comments in here real quick before we
Yeah.
jump into the next part. Raven Knight pointed out we did have Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel, which is true. In terms of dealing with the MCU, that was largely how I got through, was just going, okay, I don't have Endgame coming soon, or at the time we didn't even know what it was called, but we didn't have the next movie coming soon, but we still had Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel to get something between now and then, so that was kind of a helpful thing. Henry said he was teasing all the fangirls that thought Loki would come back, to which Smalls said that he should have come back, and I'm not convinced he won't. That is actually something that we will cover at one point during the course of this, because I just learned something new myself that I didn't know in regards to that specifically. And then Henry joked that in the next movie, Coulson should get the gauntlet and the stones, and I'd pay to see that, if I'm being honest.
It's not gonna happen.
It's not, but it would be cool to see. And then last but not least, Brock says they need to introduce Galactus, which I both agree with, and again, is something that we're definitely going to cover
For sure.
a little bit later on in the show. So
It's more of a where are they gonna go section.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned you didn't know, none of us knew the name of this movie. They kept it pretty secret.
Very under
However,
wraps,
when Doctor Strange, during the fight with Thanos, where everything basically went down in
On
Infinity
Titan.
War, on
yeah,
Titan, thank
in,
you.
in Infinity War.
He said, well, I guess we're in the ENDGAME now.
Yeah.
In that moment, I was like, that's got to be the title.
Only thing that makes sense if you're ditching Infinity War Part 2.
Right. And which they said they are. So I'm
Yeah.
glad it ended up being the title because it is very fitting.
Yeah,
title
agreed.
for
Agreed.
what we're about to talk about. So do we segue now into the synopsis of the film?
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
anyone want to give a breakdown of the 3 hours and 4 minutes that was in game?
I did memorize most of the.
I
most of
figured
the
you would
lines,
have all of us
so
here.
if, if you guys would like me, and I've been working on my accents, so
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
No, you guys go ahead. I'm a little camera shy. I'm
Ramped
usually,
it up.
usually just
Everyone's
having the microphone, so yeah, you guys go
You
ahead.
literally have.
I thought we were about to get
I
what's
do.
his name, Luis?
I do, but I don't want to read it.
Yeah, I may say what happened was.
Before you get to that, I'm mad that didn't happen. They could have given us that, even just as a trailer.
Oh, the guy from
Ant-Man,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Quick
recapping
recap of
everything.
Infinity War.
Yeah,
But the
that could
tone,
have been a trailer.
That would the trailer, sure.
Yeah,
but
not
the
in the
tone
movie.
in the
It did
film,
not fit the tone of
They
the
could have
movie.
even just done
But they
a
could have given us that as a
special,
trailer.
like a TV special.
Maybe
whatever
we'll
they're
still get
called.
that as one of the one-shots. That would be cool.
So as you know, Infinity War ends on a pretty somber tone. We lost half of 10
All life in the
years
universe.
of MCU. Like that.
In a-
So, where do you begin the film? Well, within 22 days of Infinity War ending, still with the same somber feel.
Brief interruption. A2 Brandon has subscribed with Twitch Prime.
Oh.
Thank you for that, Brandon.
Thanks,
Much
Brandon.
appreciated,
So,
buddy.
That's awesome.
Make sure you check out the podcast too, bro. Don't leave us hanging on the audio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it.
So we pick up basically with Tony Stark giving his audio recordings, his podcast, if you will,
Literally.
shouting out to really anyone that's going to listen and recover this, his helmet, that is.
Well, he was
his-
talking directly to Potts.
He's sure, but still.
I get what you mean,
Yeah.
Ultimately, confirming that we're running out of oxygen. I'm going to die out here. I am very, very far from home.
No hope. He was absolutely at the end of his
was
rope.
very-
Also,
far
didn't look
from
good.
home.
Also, yeah, he looked
Yeah.
like a skeleton. That
Yeah.
shocked me because they didn't really show that in the trailer all that much.
Yeah,
I think that's something they added after that trailer
impressive.
because they made him look gaunt.
Yeah.
Well, they barely used any of the sequences
Well,
of
like
the trailers.
in that specific trailer, it was the only one of the only ones I saw. It's that scene where he's like almost that whole verbatim talking to Pepper thing, and if I recall, he doesn't look as skeletal.
Sickly.
I think that's something they added in After Effects.
So, you mentioned trailers. I want to point this out before we jump ahead, too, so I don't forget about it. The trailers actually gave us the story. We didn't even realize it
Yeah.
before seeing it. The posters gave us the story of Endgame. We didn't even realize it. The reflectiveness, the reflections like Thor, Iron Man, who was it, Hulk? Who else was standing in the poster? I can't recall. But it was their current versions of them looking down in the reflection at the original versions. So you had kind of a reference in not only the trailers with the black and white going back to old footage, time travel. Like
Yeah.
it was told to us directly in front of our faces, and we didn't see that. That's just my take from it.
Smalls also resubscribed
Thank you, Smalls, for
for the
the
7th month,
Dang,
3 in a row.
impressive. Thank you. So Carol Danvers, anyone know who that is?
Heard of her.
Heard of her? Plays a small role.
Tiny
small
one.
So Captain Marvel, the name she inherits, rescues Tony and Nebula, who's also out there with Iron Man, brings them back to Earth. and they link up with the remaining Avengers. You have Hulk, Steve Rogers, Rocket, Thor, Natasha, and Rhodey.
Did they ever actually call her Captain Marvel?
No.
Like even in
either
her-
movie, I
in
don't
her
believe
movie?
so.
Yeah, because there was Marvel. Her
Yeah, they referenced that.
yeah.
Well, Marvel
there was
was-
something at the end though. I don't think they said Captain Marvel, but I feel like she
No, no.
acknowledged that she wasn't.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, she's talking to Sam Jackson.
Yeah, at the
in
very
the kitchen,
end.
and
Yeah.
he's like, she goes, it's Marvel.
Yeah.
It's 2 words, and he goes, Marvel sounds better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, I think they covered.
But I don't think they
that.
ever actually refer to her as
No,
Captain
not
Marvel. Sorry to
directly.
interrupt.
No, you're good. Basically, from there, they all link up. We have this just what felt like this slow, somber kind of story. Was it before the 5 years later thing where we saw Hawkeye? Hawkeye opened the film.
Oh, that was
so
literally
the opening
first thing we
sequence of the
saw.
film is Hawkeye playing with his children
about a way
and
to
wife
start a movie.
and his home.
That was
And
rough.
it's the side effect or the effects of the snap happening from the
Yeah.
Infinity War.
Seeing
As
the
soon
snap
as that,
happen
from the
as
other
soon as that opened, I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like that farm, I recognized right away.
So his whole family gone.
Yeah. He didn't even see it happen either. That was the worst part.
No, he turned around to get something in the house or something and ran to the house.
Pulling
and-
arrows.
Yeah. And they were gone. Anyways, join forces. Everyone goes down. They make a plan. They track down Thanos. So it kind of gets rushed real quick. They find Thanos. They get
so
really
that was definitely
angry.
before the 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get really angry. Thor is really upset, and he basically quotes something that he should have gone for the head. He takes his axe, chops off Thanos' head.
Well, he says it afterwards because
Yeah, he cuts his head off and they're like, what did you
Rocket
do? And
goes,
he's
yeah.
like, what I should have done, gone for the head. And then he walks off.
And I mean, this is within the first 15 minutes.
that was really
And-
sudden and shocking. I was like, okay,
I'm
movie's
like-
over.
Yeah, I was
But
like,
not-
where do we go from
Yeah.
here? Who's the villain?
Man, he got messed up too. Thanos looked rough
Yeah.
because he said it almost killed him because he used the snap to undo the stones.
Yeah.
And it's crazy seeing that too, not knowing, but now knowing what was going to happen later on in the film.
Yeah.
So that was super interesting. You want to take the next section? I don't want to.
Oh, Sarah says, I was trying not to cry because I knew that was coming. I don't think I've cried more in a
Sarah.
movie, y'all. Yeah, I know I haven't, Sarah. I cried so many. I'm not even ashamed to admit it. I cried so much in that movie.
No less than 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
I
wife
even-
I didn't cry, but I mean,
Oh.
Yeah,
No, I'm
got
not.
choked
Like I said,
up.
I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm an emotional
yeah.
dude, and even I know we'll talk about it later, but that scene where everyone shows up for Cap, it wasn't even a sad moment, but I was just so full of emotion.
Such a big build-up.
I just couldn't. It was just.
I broke your prop thing. My bad.
Very good. It's been falling off.
All right, so then we've kind of fast forward 5 years, and good old Ant-Man shows up at the door with a rickety old van, saying like, "Anybody home? You guys here?" And then obviously they're not sure. They think he's gone. Right? They think they're alone. They think they knew everybody that was.
Yeah, they got really excited about it too.
But
Like,
who
is that
saved Ant-Man and brought him out of the quantum realm?
from- Oh yeah,
The squirrel.
no rat.
The
rat.
Ah,
Because I was like, hey, it's Master Splinter. He just saved the day.
Yeah.
little Batman hanging out there. Just breaking people's phones here.
That's what you do.
Yeah, so then he comes back and then he has this basically grand scheme that like, if I did this, right, and this 5 years has passed, but to me it was, what do you say,
5 hours.
5
Yeah.
hours in the quantum realm. That means that he, develops this, a very
Yes,
Ant-Man-y,
He has a theory. He's
the
like,
time
"We got-
heist."
I don't know how to do it because I'm
Yeah.
not that smart, but
time heist.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it goes from there. And then no one really is smart enough on board to try and figure it out. They go to Tony first? I can't remember. off the top of my head.
yeah, they went to Tony.
And then he's like, he's done. He's out. He's like,
Well, why is he done though?
Because he's got a family now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, he's got a little girl.
He's accepted
Pepper
what's
and their
happened.
daughter Morgan.
Morgan.
And honestly, like, whether or not you're a family man, I had like instant like, dude, I'm right there with you.
I get it. Yeah,
I
I
get
got
it.
it.
I'm
I don't
not.
have a
I'm
kid, and
not.
I got it. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't want to risk undoing the 5 years, and suddenly that daughter may never exist.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
But,
wouldn't.
I'd say on top of it, he's never been one to do what other people kind of bring up. He's always been a,
What's-
kind of
what's
pusher of
best.
his own. Yeah.
What's best for
top
him
of
and then what's
family.
best for everyone.
Well, that's why it's
Yeah.
amazing to see this evolution of his character. This story arc over these last 11 years has been the story arc of Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we'll get to more on that in conclusion, but
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they go, all right, we know a couple other people that are smart. I guess really one other person who's a doctor they're still friends with. And that's when we get to see Dr. Hulk, right? Or Professor Hulk. Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
And the assumption is they were obviously talking about Banner. Like, we
Yes.
know a guy, and then, like, the shocking moment when, he's just like, he's Banner, but he's big and green.
Yeah. So then he's like, all right, it's not really my thing, but I'll figure it out. Like, I'll give it a shot.
He was
'cause what else
very,
are we gonna
very
do?
quick to say, I don't do time travel.
Yeah.
I'm not that kind of scientist.
Exactly. So then I like that part of the movie just because it was, it was very, I think it's kind of like what I do. Like, if you come to me with your computer problem, like, please fix it. I'll take it over here. Me and my friends would be like, I don't know what's wrong with it. Let me just, like, push some buttons and try and figure it out. That's kind of like what Hulk was doing. Is like, yeah, everything will be fine, man. All right, well, let's just push this button. And that was, I don't know. I thought it was cool to see they weren't just, like, going to make it work. They were making us work for it to kind of get to the point where it would work.
So, Henry, I want to give recognition to a chat here real quick. The I Love You 3000 line was ad-libbed by him. His real-life daughter tells him that, so we added it in.
Yep.
So about that, too, we
I
looked
just
up...
looked that up. That's true.
We looked some other stuff related to 3000. There was a meme going around that we ultimately found is not entirely accurate.
Unfortunately.
It's close, and it unfortunately is not accurate from what we've discovered. But including the new Spider-Man film coming this July, Far From Home, there is going to be, supposedly to this meme, 3,000-minute runtime for the MCU.
All 23 movies will add up to 3,000 minutes.
So a lot of people are like, I love you 3,000 because that's all the minutes of all the films. If it was true and accurate, that would have been very cool, but...
It's possible, I guess, the other movies do balance it out. Maybe the earlier ones are just incorrect. But, we did all of Phase 1 earlier, and it was off by, like, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, one of them wasn't Incredible Hulk, off by like a half hour or something.
It was 20-something minutes.
Yeah,
for
it was almost a full half hour off.
Well, yeah, but it went up and down.
Nonetheless, not
not
accurate,
point,
but would have been cool.
Yeah.
So as they're recruiting all the people, one of the favorite moments for me in the early parts was discovering who I feel inspiration of, and I see myself being Thor.
Thor and the Dad Bod.
Dad Bod
Thor playing video games
and then
playing Fortnite, no less.
Fortnite with one of my favorite characters from Ragnarok,
Korg.
And having to get on the mic and insult kids that way.
I'll come there and rip your arms off.
Like, I'm like, that is so me.
Have you guys ever, threatened little children on video games before?
My wife has.
I don't get online.
We got scolded back in the day when Halo 3 was out when we were living together by a kid.
Funny.
Yeah, we were living in sin.
At one point, my brother was like,
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. You remember that, Andrea?
Wow.
Tried to Jesus.
Yeah, but a kid did that.
Yeah, kids scolded us.
Kids say the darndest things.
Oh, he's saying some darn things. That's funny. It was amazing. But when they try to recruit him, that was a really cool moment.
That was a really great moment, yeah.
Yeah, Raven says lost respect for Cork for playing that game.
And
Fortnite.
Oh, come on. The game, you can't deny the popularity of that.
You can't.
And on top of it right now, there is exclusive items in it. Since we are a nerd podcast, we do play video games here, for those that don't know.
Yeah. They did one for Infinity War, and true to form, they're doing one for Endgame.
Yeah,
in
so they
Fortnite
have
right now.
Avengers items, which, from what I hear, is pretty cool.
They were pretty cool. I saw a little clip of one of the characters running around using the Iron Man repulsor gauntlets, so you could fly and do repulsor blasts, and it almost made me want to play it.
I don't know if
I
you
got
remember,
real close.
but last year for Infinity War, they added Thanos to the game. Like,
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Thanos
mode, yeah.
Yeah, you took turns being Thanos. I guess that's still
like
in
you
the game.
kill him and you become Thanos.
Like King of the Hill style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know the full extent of how this one works for Endgame, but I know that during the time when I was watching them play out the repulsor gauntlets, the Infinity Stones were raining down on the map in random places too. So you can collect the stones for other power-ups too.
Well, if you collect them all, it ends the match too immediately.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So if you collect them all, it basically you snap and then the game's over.
Brock has a good point.
So
He
it's
says
like
Thor was a broken dude after it was Hulk said Thanos. Yeah, Hulk said Thanos' name.
Cork was like, "We don't say that name around here."
Yeah, his whole expression changed. He's like, you could tell he
Yeah.
didn't want to hear it.
So they set him as an overweight alcoholic, despondent over his failure. We cut there to which Henry actually predicted happening. We cut over to Tokyo, where we see Romanoff recruiting Clint, or AKA
Ronan.
Ronan.
Yep.
Which they have some really cool action figures of that out. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I saw him a little bit ago. Yeah.
So that was cool to see. It was like, man, how cool would it be to get not maybe a movie, but even a series on that character?
You know, I heard rumors that they were going to do that.
Like,
that he was going to get a
after
Ronin
seeing
series.
what they did with that little sequence, it was so different than the rest of
It
the
was
film.
almost like a Deadpool sequence.
Yeah.
It was more
Without
in
the
line with the
like the.
It was more in line with the Netflix Daredevil and Punisher series.
Yeah. I'm like, I would watch this.
Dark, well choreographed,
Yeah.
didn't mind killing people.
No. So I thought that was really neat. From there, basically, they figured out that they need to travel to different significant times where the stones were.
We're never going to find out what happened in Budapest, Smalls.
What happened in Budapest?
I don't know.
You and
one
I
does.
remember Budapest very differently. That
Um,
was a nice throwback though when they're flying to
Vormir.
Vormir. I always want to say Boromir, and I'm like, that's
Lord of the Rings.
guy.
Let's get through the synopsis,
Yeah,
shall
sorry.
we?
So Banner, Rogers, Lang, and Stark traveled to New York in 2012. For those that don't know, that's the first Avengers film. And the big ending battle
So cool.
happened.
Yeah, it was super cool.
I know we're going to talk about gripes in a little bit. I'm going to put a little
Pin in that.
pin in this section specifically. Another funny sequence, and chime in too if you guys have like recollection of these moments, but to describe Hulk in this movie, which we haven't done yet, I would love to have a cameo from Andrea.
She's not a fan.
She is not a fan of
Professor Hulk.
for
See, I liked it. I thought
halfway
it was cool.
Hulk, mid Hulk.
Are you talking about the scene where he's like,
Yeah.
all right,
Maybe
you
on
have
the
to
way
smash?
you smash some stuff.
It seems
All right,
excessive,
but it
though.
feels gratuitous.
Yeah, he's just like, so good.
He throws
So
a
good.
car. Yeah. My favorite moment from one of the funniest moments in the whole movie though is
Rocket.
from no.
Oh,
That's gonna be mine then.
okay.
It's the after the fight between Cap and Cap in that same sequence, and he knocks him out and he goes,
Forgot about
"That
that.
is America's ass."
Yeah.
I forgot about
Hilarious! I laughed so hard.
That is
One of my favorite, very like out of nowhere comedic moments in the movie
Oh,
was
is it the
earlier, where they're debriefing Tony when he comes back from space and he's still all
I know what he's
emaciated and
talking
angry, and then he said, I don't remember the line anymore, but he says something and Rocket replies, and Tony kind of does the whole Stark reaction, and he's like, "Until just this moment, I thought you were Build-A-Bear."
Doesn't Rocket say "pretty sure I still might be" or something like that?
It's something along those lines, but
But it was hilarious too.
It was just like it's this very somber moment, and
Like-
then for like a split second, you get like early Iron Man back
because he
you
said
know?
he actually says honestly until this moment I
Yeah.
thought you were Build-A-Bear. He used that honestly phrase a lot in the Iron Man franchise.
but the same cadence, the same physical,
Yeah.
like, you know, like just everything. It was picture perfect early Iron Man, and it was just like, oh, maybe this will be okay.
Oh yeah, Raven says the Hail Hydra cap line was pretty good because that was like a call out to that comic book scene. You know,
yeah.
the whole cap.
Very,
scene,
very
right?
controversial.
Yeah.
Well, I think I don't know. Everyone in my mind, I'm like, okay, he clearly is just going to do the elevator wipeout again. Like he's just
That's what
gonna
I thought was
do
gonna
Yeah, I
happen,
was
Yeah.
waiting
They
for
set
it.
it up
All the
like-
blocking.
it was-
all the blocking, movement for movement.
Yeah.
Him taking his strap off his gun,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was
Every
like,
shot
He
was
used stock
perfect.
footage for it.
Yeah, which was awesome. Super cool.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
So yeah,
So-
yeah. Where
Although
were we?
Sitwell was
So from there, Rogers, as we mentioned, successfully retrieved the Mind Stone, but Stark and Lang's interference accidentally leads to Loki, unfortunately, escaping with the Space Stone. Rogers and Stark then have to travel to S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters in 1970.
Right.
So for those that know about timelines in these films, there is an important character that they run into in 1970.
A couple, actually.
There are a couple. So Hank Pym being one of them.
Jarvis.
Which had a fun nod. Hank Pym on the desk when they trick him into leaving his office had the prototype Ant-Man helmet, which was
Oh yeah.
a picture perfect replica of the one from the comics in that era. So that was kind of cool too.
So a lot of Easter eggs. There was a YouTube video out there. I can't remember exactly. Maybe we'll link it in the description of this video down the road.
Hippie Hank Pym.
But there was like 108 Easter eggs that you may have missed.
easily.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was IGN. That put
Actually,
out
you know,
some-
I think
sure.
I'm sure
I
it was
think we would
IGN.
be doing a huge disservice if we go any further talking about the scene without talking about what led us into that scene in the first place. The absolute biggest Easter egg in that moment was the last live action cameo of Stan Lee driving past the army base at the outset of that. I don't know that we need to dwell on it because I don't want to cry on camera.
Not again. Not
Weirdly,
tonight.
that actually kind of lands in my gripes, if I'm being 100% honest.
For his
but it's
last
very, very
cameo?
low.
Save
on
it,
my
yeah.
list.
Don't.
I was going to
go
say, I
on the
didn't want
gripes.
to segue into that yet.
No, I know.
I'm
but
right there with you.
It's going to come back
I'm right there
up,
with
but
you.
we can't not mention it because that was such a very
It's important.
huge moment for the MCU as a franchise.
I almost didn't even recognize
recognize
him.
sequence. Yeah,
A lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
I saw
If
comments
not
on-
for what he said and what the bumper sticker said, I could
Yeah.
easily see people have not.
Yeah, because
Or,
people were
the
asking
sound of his
about
voice.
it
I mean, excuse me.
afterwards.
The voice.
The
obviously.
voice, not the words, but
Yeah.
the actual audio.
His cadence, his
Yeah,
sound.
that was very clearly Stanley, but
Yeah.
But yeah, people. I read comments on videos.
I had
afterwards
to,
where-
Henry. I'm sorry.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
He wasn't in it.
I had to
And
bring it
people
up.
were like, yeah, he was the hippie driving
Yeah.
the car.
Another character we run into, unfortunately, Cap was all full force on this mission until he realized whose office that he was across from through a window, who he saw.
Well, he was in her. He was
Her outer
in
office
Her
or
outer
inner
office.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he was in the outer office, and because he was ducking away from someone who they were pretending to be Shield agents.
Right.
He ducked into her office to avoid a security patrol, and he saw her through the window.
Her being Peggy Carter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who, if you don't
Really
know
at
Cap's story by this point,
What are you doing?
why are you here? But no, really, that was one of those first moments where I kind of got choked up for a minute.
I honestly thought she was going to see him.
I didn't
Even
want
though
her
I knew
to.
she wasn't going to.
I
I
thought
didn't
for
know
like it was going to be one of those things where she looked away and then looked and he was gone. Like I thought
I
it was
could've
going
seen
to
that,
yeah,
but
like because they do it's
Even
a
that,
trope.
I don't. Yeah.
And then we also run into, and this is the other kind of sequence where it was like breaking my heart the whole time, especially
Yeah.
the farewell, Howard Stark.
Yeah.
A neat little nod in that one was that we got to meet Jarvis, like the original Jarvis.
We did, yes.
That was cool.
So, coming full circle out of these, and before we continue to jump ahead, if I was going to give, and I've mentioned to you guys already in conversations on this, if I was going to describe this film as anything, the title of my review would be called Greatest Hits. Because
sure.
of
Yeah.
these sequences that we're seeing already. So we've traveled to 2012, we've traveled to 1970. Even though 70 technically was only touched on in some of the films, it really wasn't heavily, featured. Maybe that year specifically wasn't featured, but
No, it was talked about as an era during which S.H.I.E.L.D. was in its formative stages. Because that was still when Howard and Peggy and Hank and who else? It was the fourth guy, the guy that Hank Pym punches.
I don't remember his name. I know
You know what I'm talking about, though. In the first
Strauss?
Ant-Man movie?
Strauss.
It doesn't matter. The point is, the 70s were kind of around that period when they
Yeah.
were transitioning from
SSR.
the SSR into actually being S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. The whole movie was almost like what you hate to see in a television, a clip show.
and I usually hate those.
Right, same, but they
It
did
fit
it
here.
in such a way that it was perfect.
Well, because it's the end. We knew
Yeah.
this was the end of the biggest story arc. It's fitting that you do this, and it's why I wasn't mad.
Yeah.
Anything else, I would have been like, really, this is cheap. But again, we'll talk about more of that in gripes. So while they're off doing their thing in 70, we have 2013. If you don't know what that is, we're going to talk about Thor, Asgard. Rocket and Thor travel there to retrieve the
Dark
Reality
World.
Stone. Dark World. From Jane Foster. Sorry, again, we'll get into that as well. Also obtaining Thor's hammer.
What's that?
Thor's hammer.
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir?
Meow meow.
How'd you say it earlier?
Molnir.
Mjolnir.
What'd you say, Andrea?
Winefall.
Winefall. Right, that's how it was said.
So while that's all playing out, we go to 2014. Nebula and Rhodey steal the Power Stone before
Guardians.
Peter Quill can. So yes, Guardians of the Galaxy. And let me tell you, that sequence was so awesome.
It was really cool.
To see Quill dancing around without the actual soundtrack over
yeah,
him,
Yeah.
that was
horribly
hilarious.
singing along to it.
Yeah,
I was losing my
because in Guardians they make it look like it's just awesome
like a
because all
rock
you hear is
concert,
the music
basically.
and he's like you don't
grabbing
hear
those
him at
little
all.
Aliens,
Yeah.
But then you hear him just butchering the
Yeah,
song. I'm
yeah.
like,
it was
It was
hilarious.
Super good.
you couldn't have cast better for his
And then
character.
just
No kidding.
they knock him out.
Yeah, it's so good. So Rhodes returns to the president with the Power Stone, but Nebula is unable to return when her cybernetic implants interface with those of her past self. So this is where things were going well. Everyone was succeeding on their missions.
This is where it all starts to go sideways.
Yeah. So through this connection, the Thanos of that time, so again, we're spoiling, we have been, we saw Thanos get killed, but because they're traveling in time, obviously Thanos existed.
They're in 2014. We haven't even, outside of like occasional like after credit scenes, he's not been an active player.
And he hasn't
was
said, fine,
later
I'll
on
do
in
this
Guardians.
myself yet either.
Yeah,
That's true.
Later on in Guardians, he's in that cutscene with Thanos. Not cutscene, but scene.
Yeah.
So he learns of his future success
And
through her,
yeah,
And subsequent
and
death.
he attempts to undo it. He captures the present-day Nebula and sends past Nebula to the present, disguised as her future self. Ingenious.
yeah, she's got that plate
Yeah,
that
she
changes
changes
to
the
gold
plate.
plate and
Yep.
you swap it out.
Barton and Romanoff travel to Vormir, where the Soul Stone's keeper, the Red Skull, who I'm still mad they recast.
Yeah, but he does such a good job.
He's fine.
Well, you had to know that was coming though. Because in the wake of Captain America: The First Avenger, Elrond himself, Hugo
said he didn't
Weaving,
wanna do it.
came right out and was like, "No, this was a paycheck to me. I have no interest in returning."
Yeah,
to
he
this."
was not connected to the
He shit
character.
on it the same way he shit on Transformers. He didn't want to be Megatron. He didn't want to be Red Skull. It was a paycheck. End of story.
Yeah, I didn't know he was Megatron. That's funny.
When was he Megatron?
In
In the first Transformers movie,
I thought they cast the original.
they did not in the first one.
Did they cast him in the
What?
other ones? Why would
Learning things today.
I don't remember honestly, but I believe post the first one they went back to Welker.
All I think of is
Andrea
Matrix.
says, why
though.
would Nebula tell them? Wait, tell them what?
They have to sacrifice something.
Right, we're gonna
Oh,
get
why
to
wouldn't-
gripes.
oh,
we're gonna
yeah,
get
yeah,
to
yeah.
We'll
We'll get
gripes.
there.
come to that, but the short answer is she didn't know.
Yeah. We talked about this.
Believe me, I'll explain it.
Yeah.
So the Red Skull reveals it can only be acquired by sacrificing someone they love, which we already had learned by losing Gamora in Infinity War, which led to this whole damn thing because Quill
He's an idiot.
is an idiot that caused everything to happen.
Seriously, honestly, like, I talked about this the other day. Like, had he done anything but punch him with the gun, like, he could have put the gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger, and it would have been over.
Yeah,
Or, it might have
potentially.
potentially
We don't know.
killed him. We don't know.
Probably not.
Cut off the head, cut off
It's
the
better
arm.
than punching him with a gun. Like, what the hell was that?
Yeah,
So we already knew at that point what was going to happen. We were going to lose
Yeah, as soon
Black
as they,
Widow
or
or
Hawkeye.
as soon as
Hawkeye.
they said they were heading to Vormir, I was like,
I was convinced because we had the announcement and confirmation that we're getting
the
a Black Widow
series.
film.
Yeah.
That it was going to be
That's
Hawkeye.
Oh, it's a film,
Going
isn't it? I
to
thought it
be
was a series.
no film that we were going to have Black
Okay.
Widow die.
Yeah.
I was convinced that she was gone.
Wait.
Oh, really?
Right, because why do you? Her story arc is done. She's getting her own film set. In
See,
the-
I-
Oh,
I
you
didn't-
know it was a prequel.
I didn't know it was a prequel. That's why I thought.
I
she
didn't
was
know it was
safe.
a prequel. I had the assumption that it was.
Oh, okay.
Because why would it be so interesting post all of this for just her to have a film?
Well, up to this point in the film, I think we'd laid a lot of groundwork for it to be interesting. She took over running things in the
Yeah.
absence of the rest of the Avengers.
Sure, but I feel like there's so much backstory to her that's better. That's why I was under the assumption she was going to be the one to go.
I thought.
Plus, it's more impactful for her to go.
I was certain it was going to be Hawkeye, especially because Jeremy Renner has complained more than once about how he feels like he's kind of been,
underused.
extremely.
He hated what
He was so excited to be in the
Avengers.
first Avengers movie, and then he spent half the film a bad guy.
Yeah, he hated that.
Yeah, that kind of sucked for him.
Yeah.
Kind of a lot.
Yeah, and I was on there like I thought because she was going to get her own movie that she I went into that assumption with Spider-Man in the Infinity War, like he was safe, and look how that worked out for me.
Okay, so there's two things I want to interject here. Both of these are from Henry.
Yeah.
Applicably hilarious. While we were talking about the seeing Star-Lord dance around without the music.
Yeah.
And then we moved into the part where Star-Lord ruins everything by punching Thanos with a gun. In between those two moments, Henry said Rhodes' line of "so he's an idiot" was great, and applicable.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
other thing
that
he
was
points
hilarious.
out is
He's dumb.
Budapest is happening for the Black Widow movie, and it shows how she's trained, etc. And actually, that's a good point. So I rescind my earlier statement that we're never going to find out what happened to Budapest. We actually very well could.
Turns away from the door.
And I really hope that's the case.
Yeah,
Speaking
Well,
of, she's got a lot of backstory to establish.
I think
and
that's
work
more
through.
interesting.
I think that'll be really good. I want to know what happened to Budapest. Damn it!
Watch nothing. They got Kool-Aid.
Yeah, they're not going to do it
They got Kool-Aid.
because
They're not
everyone
gonna-
wants to know it.
They just chilled, had a margarita.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the pineapple from Ryan Met Your Mother. Is it a pineapple?
Oh yeah.
They never explained it.
Never explained it. Anyway,
So the end of Black Widow, the sacrifice, allowed Barton to claim the Soul Stone. So they had acquired another stone.
Wasn't there another? Was that?
no, there's two
Oh, I
statements.
thought you had something else.
Quill's an idiot and
Yeah, yeah,
Budapest.
okay.
Reuniting in the present, the Avengers create a new gauntlet. Banner, warning of the danger in using the stones, volunteers to wield it and restores all those whom Thanos had disintegrated. So we just had like boom, 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 like success. We're like, okay.
Yeah, as soon as he did it, like Barton got a call from his wife.
Yep. So we're kind of the wonder, okay, Avengers, they're going to prevail. This is going to be an easy exit.
Meanwhile, Nebula's doing something. Or Nebula? Yeah,
Mhm.
Nebula. I
Right.
got it right the first time. I always say that. I always mix them up. When Nebula was over on the computer.
Yeah. So she uses the time machine
Like
to
I'm
transport
talking
Thanos
Fake-
and his
fake
warship.
Nebula.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fake,
fake
fake
Nebula.
evil Nebula.
Bad.
Nebula.
It's
Old
important.
Old Nebula.
Original.
The
Original.
OG.
Nebula classic.
Thanos' daughter. Nebula.
Yes. Yeah. Bad Nebula. Yeah.
So she uses that to transport Thanos and his warship to the present. So here we have now
Yeah, it
Thanos
ports in and
attack
blows the roof off.
2.0.
Yep.
Shit.
Thanos launches an attack on the Avengers compound,
Destroys it.
just
Utterly.
demolishes
He made it rain. It's just
everything.
Twice.
That was a rough scene.
yeah. That was hard to watch.
I'm honestly shocked they didn't kill someone off in that scene.
I thought during that scene that we would see World Breaker Hulk pop back out to be a little more heroic in saving people.
Worldbreaker Hawk.
Through this present day, Nebula convinced the past version of her sister Gamora to turn against Thanos and kills her past self.
Mm-hmm.
Stark, Rogers, and Thor in one of the most epic
my God.
sequences of the entire franchise in MCU. Battle Thanos,
because we're coming back to this.
Yeah.
during which Rogers proves
He
his
is worthy.
worthiness, and you hear a loud in our theater, a loud
Cheer.
roar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh my God,
The
that was
crowd
awesome.
went bananas.
And he wields.
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir. And Thor goes, "I knew it." Just so good.
So that was a very exciting moment. We do have to point out Thanos or Thor here is still Dad Bod Thor.
Yeah.
So
Not for
Although
much longer.
he kicked off the battle sequence by calling both Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, and upon grabbing both, lightning struck and his whole appearance changed. He got the full suit of armor, his beard braided itself,
braided.
was amazing.
his hair went like it wanted to do the classic half ponytail like he did in the earlier films,
Yeah.
except it didn't like roll over the top. It like
What is-
stayed parted and just kind of went up on the sides. It was very
Oh, he
weird
did have his
looking.
long hair back. We forgot to
is-
point that
I'm
out.
curious
Yeah.
what
What?
Henry means. He said, "I still want the language joke explanation for Cap."
Age of Ultron. They're
Yeah, but
riding
I mean-
in and. I think it was,
No, I'm asking
personally,
what
I think
he
it was
means.
throwaway. I mean, but yeah,
It
Henry,
wasn't-
clarify.
I
What do
think
you
it
mean?
was just a
Anyway,
throwaway
so anyway,
comment.
awesome,
'cause he's
awesome
from the
fight
50s.
sequence. Dad Bod Thor gets to rock two hammers. Cap proves he's worthy.
Super
Finally, after all these years since Age of Ultron, where they were in.
And he made the hammer wiggle.
Right. So
Giggity.
it's funny that we come full in that little story. So they planted the seed way back then.
Speaking of things coming full circle, in Age of Ultron, Tony has that vision of the Avengers all being dead,
And the
and
shield is
among that
broke.
vision is Cap's shield broke in half, and sure
Which
enough,
ended
it
up
gets
happening.
broken in half during this fight.
Let me tell you, during this fight sequence, I was convinced that Cap was going to die.
No, there was a specific
Yeah.
moment he got knocked down. Like after he went at, which was my personal favorite, like scene when he went at him with Mjolnir and was thrashing him. He got ultimately he got knocked on his back and
Yeah, that
he
was
was
it. I thought he
laying
was going
there.
to get stabbed or
And
something.
I thought he was going to take that big thing and stab him right through the
Take
back.
that big thing.
The big double
I
sword,
know what you
serrated
meant.
sword. I thought he was going to stab him with his big thing. Yeah,
this is a different show.
like he was starting to get up, and I thought for sure the blade was going to just down do, and that was it. And it didn't happen. Something more epic, like my favorite scene of the movie, happened. We'll go into that.
Yeah, let's wrap this up
So-
and we'll get into our.
So at this point, Doctor Strange arrives with his fellow sorcerers and
Nice,
restored
Andrea.
Avengers, the
On
Guardians
your
of the Galaxy, armies of Wakanda, Asgard, the Ravagers. They all fight Thanos' army alongside Danvers, who shows up, powers through the big ship,
That was dope.
destroys it.
What are they firing at?
You have the lineup of all the women of the franchise. You have people teaming up that you may have not seen fight side by side. You have Rocket's so happy to see Groot back, and you have
Spider-Man
Drax,
instant kill mode.
instant kill mode
that
from
was dope.
Spider-Man. I mean, it just all these people in like 1 minute sequence on camera.
So
at
much
the same
money right in
time.
that
Yeah.
sequence. Just so
It
much
was
money.
just-
The whole budget went into the fight
Yeah.
sequence at the end of the movie.
So everyone had like at least one line. Some only had one line. Wasp.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, hey, there's your one line of film. Would you shoot for one day? But I mean, how do you fit everyone in?
Well, side fact: Ant-Man and the Wasp, Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly shot their scenes for Endgame at the same time as Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, another
And,
fun fact: Captain
Brie
Marvel.
Larson.
Yeah, Brie Larson shot Endgame
Endgame
before
first. Yeah.
Captain Marvel. So after overpowering Thor, Rogers, and Thanos seizes the gauntlet.
Henry said I came during that fight. LOL.
Ew. It's a kids show.
Is it though?
It might be.
though?
It should be.
We tried.
It's like podcast may be explicit. We'll
So
see.
all this is happening. The epicness. Everyone's excited. Everyone's on a major high. The Avengers are going to freaking win, right?
Oh, and they finally, actually, for the only time in the whole freaking franchise, Captain America says the words "Avengers Assemble."
Oh yeah, when they
Yeah.
all first show up and they're just lined up, and he's like, "Avengers."
Assemble.
It
Finally.
was just, yes.
So we're
'Cause
like,
he
all right,
starts to say
this
it all
is
the
the
time.
conclusion of everything we wanted. Nothing is terrible here. Nothing bad can happen ever. We're going to win. But then Thanos seizes the gauntlet. But then Tony Stark steals the stones back with his little
With a throwback to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
his fist.
Sleight of hand. It was a joke.
He uses them to wipe out Thanos and his army. But the biggest heartbreak, and I'm dying here on the inside right now. He sacrificed himself
Yep.
to do so. It was too much. Obviously,
No,
it almost killed Thanos.
And he knew it because there was a moment where right before it happened, he looks over and Strange goes, "As in that's our one.
Yep.
This is our one
This is the
shot."
only way it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because he kept checking in during the fight. He kept checking in. You're going to tell me? Is that if I tell you, it won't matter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not going to happen if I tell you.
yeah. And then
Which
he just
was smart.
He snaps,
Mm-hmm.
and then like all that happens, he kind of slumps over, and there's that absolutely heartbreaking goodbye between him and Peter Parker again.
And Potts. They're all
Oh,
kneeling over him
Potts.
as the longest, quietest, drawn out sequence was from that segueing into the funeral,
Yep.
which everyone that's still around.
Was it me, or was it just me, or did she basically going up and and seeing him almost kind of? It seemed like she knew that this was going to go down this way. It seemed like she knew that when this is all going down, that she
Because
probably
Peter was
wouldn't.
way more emotional about it, and she
Yeah.
was just like, "It's okay,
Yep.
we're okay." She had to
You
have
can
made
rest
peace
now.
with that.
Yeah.
Like when he left, she was like, "He's not coming back, or if he comes back, it's not going to last." Like,
She knew him.
yeah, she knew him. I mean, that's what it
Yeah.
comes down to. Like,
This was what he was supposed to do.
I think that was subtly like super powerful. That she wasn't a mess. That she was,
she was being strong for her,
Yep.
her for him. I'm sure she was a mess off screen. you know.
Yeah.
I think she was being mom.
Yeah,
I agree.
She was
She was
being
being
mom.
That killed me.
I still haven't told my son. He
Mine
can't.
was sitting next to me. He cried.
He did.
I felt
He
like the
cried.
worst parent.
He was between the
Seriously,
two
that
of
hurt
us.
my feelings.
It was so sad. Like,
All right, let's
I
last
was
a
to
little
say
bit
on
here.
this quiet
Last little
psalm right
bit
now, I'm
here.
getting teary-eyed now thinking about everything we just had just over a week ago. Following Stark's funeral, Thor appoints Valkyrie as the ruler of New Asgard and joins the Guardians of the Galaxy, which
Asgard.
I
Guardians of the Galaxy.
which I love. I love the banter between Thor and Star-Lord. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
If
You're
he's
Caesar, you're the
joining that
leader
cast,
Yeah.
if he honestly, that could be the best film in MCU.
as long as they stick to the tone of Ragnarok and don't go backwards.
Oh yes, 100%, 100%. We'll get to
But
that.
Yeah,
Taika Waititi already pitched a fourth Thor movie to Marvel.
We'll get to the evolution
Sorry.
of Thor because I want to talk about that a lot.
Yeah, we need to.
Rogers returns the Infinity Stones to their original places in time,
As well as
which-
Mjolnir.
as well as meow meow.
Yeah, he's got the shield. He's got. Oh no, he doesn't have the shield because the shield's gone. But he's got Mjolnir in one hand, the stone, the gauntlet, and the stones. And he.
Well, not a gauntlet. He had a briefcase.
Oh, that's right.
The
Because they put
briefcase.
him all in a briefcase.
And then they go.
Which was a
engage and
badass
he disappears,
briefcase, too.
and they count down from 10, and he doesn't come back.
So that led us to like, oh, what happened? And then they pan over to a bench overlooking a scenic view, and it's an old man sitting there.
Oh, Sarah, that sucks.
And the old man is Cap.
Steve Rogers.
Almost didn't recognize him. Again.
Hey, we're at the Endgame trailer.
Fittingly.
I actually learned something about that scene. Anthony Mackie was over at Cap's house. What's his Chris Evans?
Chris Evans.
Yeah, he was over at his house, and he's like, "So you're excited about what's going to happen?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, You don't know?" And he like bolted out of the room and came back with a script, and he was the one who told Anthony Mackie he was getting the shield. And he's
That's
like, Anthony Mackie was like, as a father, that's a huge deal. Like, my kids are going to see Captain America as a black man up on the big screen.
I hope so, because as of right now, not so much. Falcon and Winter Soldier is a Disney Plus TV series. There's no slate for a movie yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll show up in one of the other.
Henry, you can think that, but I'm telling you, narratively, it doesn't work. And the Russos agree. And
I
we'll get to that
agree.
too.
I agree with Henry on this, though. But
You want to tell our podcast listeners what Henry's saying?
Oh yeah, he said still think Bucky
No.
should have gotten the shield.
Who?
Bucky.
Bucky, yeah.
Winter Soldier.
So I agree with Henry. Bucky should have got the shield. So that's how we conclude Endgame. Basically, we saw Cap. We learned he lived his life the way he should have, or wanted to, rather. Not
They show
live,
him
but
Actually
show him
goes off
dancing.
with him dancing with Peggy.
Yeah, that's the last scene.
Has a ring on, also, for
Yeah.
people, I don't know. People maybe or may not
Yeah,
saw
because
that part.
Well, Mackie comments.
Falcon goes, "You want to
comments
tell
on
me
it.
about her?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"No."
it was
I
an
don't think I do.
incredible, and like honestly, I'm glad his story went
Ended like
way.
that. Yeah, he deserved it.
Yeah, he deserved
sure.
a happy ending.
Oddly enough, this movie didn't have any after credits.
I was to say
The
the
mid-credits,
first
after credits,
no
nothing.
mid credits
The most it had was like it showed each character who played them, and
Yeah.
then the
signatures.
Which was
well,
awesome.
it only did the signatures for the original.
main
For the main
Originals.
cast,
Yep.
yeah.
There was, however, at the very end, the
Oh, yeah.
Marvel logo comes up, and what people speculated is sounds from Iron Man crafting his first suit of armor.
It's
In
been
Iron Man
confirmed.
1.
It's
It's been
actually
confirmed.
the
Russo's
when he's
confirmed it.
working on his helmet. He's got the helmet in
Yeah.
his hand.
So
he's
The first
speculation
three,
is
yeah.
that if you have seen Iron Man 3, the little boy in Christmas Town is what I call it, that he saves and builds the potato gun thing, and
Harley Keener.
yes, he was actually in the pan up of the funeral.
Yeah,
He's
at the funeral,
older.
I
There's
There's
recognize him.
speculation that he could be inheriting an Iron Man role of sorts to carry on the character, not as a Tony Stark, but to carry on the legacy of an Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that is accurate, that's awesome.
I honestly think, and I would like if they went with the Ironheart comics. Do you know that?
I'm not familiar with no.
It's what's her name? She's an African American like super genius kid.
Oh,
and
I
she
don't know
builds
her
an
name
Iron
either.
Man suit. Her name's like starts with an R.
I mean, they could
Rico
go
or
any way,
something?
but why would you have the significance of him being in that
Yeah.
funeral sequence other than to plant the seed for
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
no,
that?
no.
Well,
for sure,
So
but-
the Russos said they included him because it was important for Tony's character arc.
Sure, but
It's not necessarily indicative of anything forthcoming. It could be, and that's one of the things the Russos have said repeatedly. They're willing to discuss their reasoning behind almost everything that they did with Infinity War and Endgame, but
There are
I'm
other
actually
things
going to go
going
ahead
on.
and just switch the video real quick because the trailer. I mean, oh no, there it goes. Never mind. It was on a subscribe to our channel thing, and I wanted to flip it over real quick. But anyway, so the point is,
subscribe. You could subscribe to us if you,
you could
want.
subscribe to us. We would appreciate it, both here and on YouTube. But so they've gone on record repeatedly throughout the course of the 1,000 interviews they've given between Endgame's premiere and now, and disclosed so much stuff. Things that we are going to ultimately talk about as we hit our bullet points later on. But one of the things that they've said is there's some things that they don't want to comment on because when they made Endgame, they were able to do so with no worry about the future of the MCU. They were given basically full carte blanche to end things. And Marvel was like, obviously they still had to submit for revisions and whatever, but like basically Marvel was like, end the story, do you.
Yeah.
And
Well-
so that is one of the things that they've said is that they brought Harley Keener, the character Harley Keener played by Ty Simpkins, who is actually the same actor from Iron Man 3.
Right.
They brought him in for the funeral specifically because it was somebody that played an important role in Tony Stark's life, and that's why everybody was at Tony's funeral.
I mean, again, very fitting. To
But that
conclude,
does not dismiss that.
to conclude too with the Russos, this is the conclusion of what they've said they were planning on doing for the MCU.
Yeah, they have said they're done.
They're done. Where do you go from here?
For them, you move on. I mean,
Right.
You're not getting better than this.
Well, they already have been on. They're doing the Stan Lee documentary. It's
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah, but that's not.
I mean, no, I'm just saying
Yeah.
they're not.
They're not done.
with
They're
Disney,
not done
but
with
they're
Marvel
with
or Disney. but
They
they're done
could
with the
wrap
Marvel
up their
Cinematic
entire
Universe.
careers, though, because right now, as we are recording this film stands at number 5 on the highest grossing films not adjusted for inflation list. Number
that's-
5 in 1 week.
Yeah, and as someone who tried to get tickets for today through Imagine, couldn't find tickets.
100% booked. Every show.
showing was almost like there were like 5 scattered seats maybe in
I
each
think it's
theater.
pretty clear why, because most people
Yeah.
knew we were going to do this spoiler
Yeah.
cast, and they
Had
wanted to get it in
there and-
They were like, it's
before.
gonna be out there. I gotta.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure everybody's understanding that's
Weirdly
that's
enough-
our doing. So you're welcome,
Iron Man
Disney.
3 is on in the
Disney,
background right
you're
now.
welcome.
Absolutely.
Just
It's
twisting that
Caleb.
knife.
He did all this. So we're going to segue into some of our bullet points. We talked about a lot of things. We unpacked the movie. Obviously, there's still stuff
There's a
we
lot,
left
yeah.
out. We couldn't, other than reading a script, describe everything verbatim.
We're just
or
gonna act it
perfectly.
out the whole movie. Let's do it.
All right, go.
No.
Dibs on Gamora.
Oh,
You want to get.
Now when you say that,
why'd you have to pick that one?
Anyway,
it's
I like
gonna get
green.
real weird
What?
now.
Okay.
get real weird.
Yeah.
He started off by saying nude. Anyway,
We talked about favorite scenes and moments, kinda, as we were describing this. Does anyone want to? I've already
Henry
described
says you
mine.
forgot about the timeline branch offs and having to take the stones back to the exact moment.
we didn't
I mean,
forget about it.
we-
We're coming there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Favorite
Right.
scenes and moments. Does anyone want to?
My favorite moment / scene was the on your left throwback to Cap Civil War when the portal opens and they all come out and then they all come out.
Yes.
Yeah, that was like I said.
Winter Soldier.
Huh? What?
Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, it was Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah, Winter
When he's jogging around the reflecting pond, he keeps saying "on your left" to Anthony Mackie's character, Falcon, and I don't know why.
Cap, can you hear me?
Yeah,
On your
he's
left.
like, on your left. And honestly, I'm going to be 100%. I missed that reference. And what was funny is we were discussing it later on, and apparently you missed it, and so did he. David brought it up. He was like, "I like
I
that."
didn't miss it.
You said you did.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Yes, he did. But anyways, David, his son David was talking about it. He's like, "That was funny." He was on your left, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, from Winter Soldier." And after the collective, "Oh yeah." David was like, "Oh yeah." Like we all thought he got the reference, but he missed it. He just thought it was a funny line. But yeah, when they step through and then all the other
Portals,
portals open up, just one of my favorite scenes.
Very cool. Rob, what about you? Favorite scene, moment?
Well, before I address mine real quick to get the chat in here, Henry said it was nice to see Thor with his mom, which it was.
Yeah.
That was
That was a touching moment.
everybody.
great.
Everybody got one of those moments in the film, and I feel like that was important for everybody's character arc. But Thor's, for where he was at in the film, still doubting himself, still
Very broken.
From losing everyone.
And the end of his time with his mom, being able to call Mjolnir to him,
Yeah, man.
and being able to, I'm still worthy, and then he gets to go off and save the day. So that was really nice. I agree, Henry. And then Smalls also said one of my absolute favorites was the interaction between Tony and Nebula at the beginning of the movie. It gave Nebula so much more depth as a character and
Oh,
really
yeah, when
made
they're
me
playing
care
football.
about her. And yes, I 100% agree. It was especially a very subtle moment when it's very clear that Tony is already very emaciated and sick looking, and he's very clearly starving to death. And because he's who he is, he offers her some of the whatever was in the vacuum sealed bag, and she's like, "No, like I don't need the food. You do that," But so those were both good moments. But for me, I went into the MCU not really giving a crap about Captain America, and I ended Endgame feeling like he's rivaling Iron Man for my favorite character in the franchise. And being able to have that moment where he not only got to wield Mjolnir, but save Thor by doing it, that whole fight scene
Yeah.
where he just absolutely goes to town on Thanos with both the shield and the hammer, I don't think it gets any better than that, really. That was my favorite moment in the whole film.
It's one of my favorite moments in
In the whole franchise.
all of MCU.
Yeah, I mean it was such a major revelatory moment for the characters, both Thor and Captain America, but was just one of those, like, in the midst of everything that has gone so sideways and knowing that any minute now we're going to permanently say goodbye to some of our favorite characters, that was just such a pure moment of joy.
It was one of the moments I just couldn't help it. Like, when he summoned Mjolnir and just Thor was like, I knew it. I don't clap during movies. I don't cheer during movies, but I was like, I couldn't help it. It happened.
When I saw, the first thing I thought of when I saw Cap get up, for whatever reason, I don't know that they meant it this way, but the first thing that I thought of is in Captain Marvel, when there's that cutscene of her getting up at every single age and just never giving up. For me, that's the first thing. Like, I feel like that's a cool correlation of the two kind of captains within the world, that they had some sort of a similarity between their two movies, or this movie and hers.
Sorry, and like back to like something that was another funny moment in the movie. Like, it was again from 2014 or 2012 during the Avengers first movie. 2012. The with the Cap fight again. He's like, I could do this all day. I know. And he
his banter is
call back to himself.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go if that's fine with everybody. My favorite scene in the movie was having all the ladies out there, really sticking it to them, just coming up together. Even when Potts got in, somebody who basically is just mom powering her way through it with a suit. For me, that was, I don't know, super powerful, because I think as a society, if you look over everything we've overcome from racial issues and gender issues, and in movies specifically, there's been all these complaints and everybody that they didn't not only ignore it, they just put it out in the spotlight and let them have it. And for me, it was super powerful.
Representation was huge,
and that was very much what Marvel did. They were like, here are literally all of your powerful females. Here. Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't think they cut it short. I think it was, I don't know. For me, walking away, I wasn't expecting that when I thought about it. We're going over the bullet points, but that's the one that just kept coming back to me, that it gave me kind of goosebumps in the movie to watch. These ladies come out and just whoop butt.
I really like how they protected Spidey.
Yeah.
Like while he had the gauntlet.
When he had the gauntlet.
I was calling it the football.
It was basically
like a
Super Bowl. Like it was a football game, and they just kept passing him.
Yeah, because Pepper scooped him up and dropped him on a horse, and then
exactly.
Captain Marvel took over.
The significance of you highlighting that sequence too is really important, because of a lot of controversy with Rotten Tomatoes and Captain Marvel a few months back.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of issues with that.
They got review bumped.
Yeah, and they're revising a lot of the way
they handle
that stuff. So it was incredible and important that a sequence like that did happen.
For sure. And I saw some complaints. There's always toxicity in comments on things.
Well, it's the internet.
Of course, the internet.
Although one of them I did kind of have to agree with, because they had Mantis front and center in that scene, because powerful woman. She literally didn't do anything. They never showed her doing anything.
The thing about her is her powers.
Her powers are not combat.
Right? Yeah.
She's not useless, but she's not a combat.
Right.
Character.
I mean,
which is fine.
I get
you
that.
need non-combat.
But that's
characters.
my point. Like, you had all these powerful women, and the Mantis was like. And then
I'm not mad about that at all.
I'm not mad about it either. It was mentioned in a comment. That's all.
Well, so, bridging off that from Henry in the chat, he says Valkyrie being passed the throne was an amazing moment. That's also true, because that's another moment of recognizing a powerful female character having the ability to be a leader and a powerful character separate from the necessity of the male character. I mean, it is sort of undercut in the slightest by the fact that Thor had to grant her leadership as opposed to her naturally taking it. But I mean, there's only so much you can really do to pass that moment off without undermining a lot of the existing mythos, both within that type of hierarchy historically and within the established hierarchy of these things. Odin, as the king, was going to pass it to his son Thor, so of course Thor, being the rightful heir, was going to have to give it to somebody else, and he did it without hesitation. He knew she was the right choice.
Well, he never wanted to be a leader.
Well, no, he didn't. But that's kind of my point.
He originally did, but then he didn't.
Okay, yeah. But so that was a seriously good moment, I thought. And then Rated pointed out a funny scene was when Cap had Stormbreaker and Thor had Mjolnir. Give me that one.
Yeah.
I get the big one.
Real quick, the scene where he passed over he made her queen of Asgard. Mm-hmm. That happened before Cap went back, right?
Yeah, it had to have, because they cut straight from Cap going back to
okay. There was a moment, honestly, when not thinking about him having to get the hammer back to that timeline where he thought he was going to give
her Mjolnir.
Give her Mjolnir.
I don't think he can do that because he didn't create the enchantment.
It's true.
Yeah, but
did.
I feel like she might be worthy though.
Maybe.
Well, it's moot now. The hammer's wrecked.
Before we get off the whole, powerful woman thing, I guess having this talk, I never really opened my eyes up fully to the movie. I think we see early on when Black Widow is now basically the leader of what's left of the Avengers, and then we already talked about Thor's mom. She basically saved the day there, bringing it back. I think if I were to pick a group of people that almost helped win the fight single handedly, I think it's. I think the women may have played a much bigger role.
The women in the MCU won the day, period.
Across the movie.
Besides the
thinking
Rat.
about it that way.
Besides the Rat.
Yeah.
But the Rat could have been a female.
Yeah, it's
there
true.
we go.
Nice.
So, anyways, I just wanted to touch on that. All right, Travis, I don't want to leave you out.
Assume that Rat's gender.
What do you got?
I mean, I already mentioned mine. Really, it was the Thor sequence with Fortnite. I love that. Anytime he's
that was
on
good.
camera, I'm a big fan. And then same with Star-Lord. I like that character a lot.
Yeah.
And the sequence where they're, as I already mentioned, giving the outside of him singing along with the music. I thought that was great. One thing to quick touch on too with Thor and Valkyrie. This is off topic, but they work well together as actors and the characters.
Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth.
I'm very excited for Men in Black International.
I kind of am too.
That's who it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was also in the Rocky spin-offs, the
Creed.
I never saw those.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't gotten around to it.
They're good. I enjoyed them.
I don't think I saw anything past Rocky 3 anyway, though.
It's funny because you brought it up again, like the Star-Lord and Thor relationship. I completely forgot about Infinity War, and they were. Are you mocking me?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I
love
gonna be
that.
good. No, I'm just reiterating. It is actually
That's
going to be really
gonna
good.
He ends up
It's
landing on
gonna
the
be solid.
windshield of their ship.
I for some reason I was blanking on that.
So,
I don't forgive those
Are
sequences.
we going to jump to gripes, or what are you going to...
well, I had one more thing I wanted to interject that was not a favorite scene, but I want to throw it out there before we move too far into something and it can't come up again. But before that, I want to one more audience thing real quick. Rated, if there's interest in this type of content going forward, we don't usually do the video thing, but Caleb does do the podcast, and he does do call-ins, so if that's something you're interested in being a part of, let us know. I mean, we're looking for guests.
Yeah, let me take the reins on that for 2 seconds. So the podcast is still really new, just kind of growing. I love to talk. I actually haven't done tons of talking here. Just I know you guys are overwhelmed with just the knowledge back and background on it. But that's neither here nor there. But moving forward, the podcast, what I would like to see is I'll probably be posting more as far as heads up of what the next episode could be about, and then I would like to see either comments below or maybe direct messages to me or someone on the team saying you might be interested in that, and then we'll basically set up a time to. That probably doesn't sound good on the recording.
Oh my God,
set up a time to where we can start that call and have that episode. So if you guys are interested in that and want to talk about movies or whatever it is, definitely watch out for some of those posts coming through because I think that could be great to have the people who are in the chat be able to actually have a voice within the podcast.
Yeah, I've been on one.
Henry said your next episode should be about gargoyles, and I'm behind that.
I can do it. I love the gargoyles.
Gargoyles is
Watch out.
So one more
Rated
thing.
also wanted to converse. So a lot of people are mentioning that.
Yeah, that's what I said. Rated
I thought you
was the
said
one
Henry. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Or if I said Henry, I meant Rated. Sorry.
Okay.
But Brock made a point that I actually really I do want to touch on because he's not wrong, and I want to elaborate on this before the episode's over. He said, I feel like Infinity War was Thanos' movie. He was the protagonist, and Endgame was the Avengers movie. I kind of agree with you on that one, to be honest, and I do definitely want to expand on that a little bit later on in the episode. But the thing that I wanted to touch on before we move too much further away from it, because I don't feel like it's going to fit anywhere else, was a cool thing that apparently has been recognized that I straight up didn't catch at all. During that sequence, you talked about Black Widow's character arc included her becoming the leader of what was left of the Avengers in the wake of the snap.
Essentially.
One of the things that went right over my head is they're talking about what's going on in the world, and at one point they're talking about a massive earthquake that happened underwater, and she's like, well, what do we do? And they were just like, nothing, it's an earthquake, it's under the water, we can't get to it, what do you want to do? Apparently that was meant to be a subtle nod towards Namor the Submariner,
Really?
the king of Atlantis, because the specific zone that the earthquake apparently took place in was
Interesting.
for that character. I don't know that there's any actual intention to bring that character into the
I thought that was an
MCU.
interesting
It could be just leaving a window open, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they kind of did the same thing when they talked about Wakanda in earlier movies, and when they mentioned, was it in Winter Soldier when they had the list of people that Hydra was keeping tabs on, and Doctor Strange was on that list?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it might just be one of those like subtle nods, or like, tee-hee, this thing, but it might also wind up being something as we move forward, because we've got a lot of room left in the main cast now, you know?
Yeah.
But so I just wanted to throw that out there. It was something I read the other day, and I'd like that. Like, the moment I caught, because I'm like, that's a little weird, they're focusing on an underwater earthquake, but I didn't think anything past it. But then I read that, and I'm like, oh shit, that could be really cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd say let's not dwell too much on the future, because we have that in our bullet points. But I'd say let's go ahead and jump, without getting too heated, for those people who probably may be heated on this. I don't know, for mic levels at least. Let's jump into our gripes. So anybody want to jump in?
I'll jump in real quick, because I know Rob already has the answer for it. It's something that both Andrew and I agree on. The whole retrieval of one of the stones with Black Widow and Hawkeye, knowing where they were going, knowing what had to happen, why was that not acknowledged?
Okay, so this isn't even something that you have to dig into Russo commentary on. This is one of those things that you just look at it from... I don't want to phrase it as a common sense standpoint, because it sounds harsh, but it's not the way that I mean it.
Condescending.
I mean, if you're not an idiot, no, I'm kidding.
There's my wife over there; she will stab you.
If you were paying attention,
she just said earlier she's not going to remember any of this later.
She's flipping me off camera. You see that?
Well, she's scratching her nose.
Yeah.
Don't read
so
it.
anyway, no, seriously, this is one of those things where you have to take what has happened on screen at its literal face value.
Right.
Nebula couldn't possibly have told anybody what they had to do to get the Soul Stone, because she didn't know. All she knew was that Thanos took Gamora to Vormir, and only Thanos came back. And we, the audience, knew what happened.
And you could make an assumption, maybe. But
I don't even think you could, because this actually ties into something that you and I sort of debunked a little bit through conversation. At least I think it was you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, none of the stones technically had any established rule to them up to this point.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Yeah, right? What did you have to do to possess the Mind Stone?
No.
Oh,
pick it up.
They gave it to somebody. What did you have to do to possess the Power Stone?
You had to be able to
I don't know. He grabbed it out of a force field. Now, they do actually have rules, but they're not, like, there's no stone tablet that says, to get this stone, you must do this.
Tablet, yeah.
No. But legitimately, like, the Power Stone's rule was you must be powerful enough to wield it, and they established that loosely by having one of the Celestials wield it during the time when the Collector is explaining to the Guardians how the stones came to be and what they each do and where they're from. And he's like, this Celestial wielded it. But then, this other group of guys, it took a whole group of them to wield it, and even they couldn't contain it, and it killed them. And then immediately afterwards, the little pink butler girl freaks out and is like, screw you, Tanavir! And grabs it, and
I think you mean slave girl.
Whatever. I didn't want to phrase it that way.
That's what she was.
Well, but anyway, so the point is, the stones all do, within the mythos, actually have some established rule to explain what you have to do to be able to wield them or earn them at all. But it's never said for any of them, with the exception of the Soul Stone. And the only time it's said is by Red Skull to Thanos and Gamora. Nobody else, nowhere else, and nobody else in the universe knew where the stone came from except for Nebula and Gamora.
You know,
he had to torture Nebula to get Gamora to admit that she knew where the stone was and to take Thanos to it.
Interesting.
Nobody knew.
What's funny is during my Infinity War, I rewatched the MCU altogether, and during my rewatch of Infinity War, I said to my brother, and I said in the group chat and part of it, I'm like, if she knew she was looking for this stone and she knew he had to find it, why even risk looking at the map? Just burn it. Then he would never be able to find it.
That's a better plot point, plot hole.
He wouldn't have been able to torture Nebula because, I mean,
sure,
she found the map. She never looked at it.
What's to stop somebody else from being able to figure it out is the other thing. Like, there's no reason to preserve it. If you found it, someone else could find it.
Yeah.
Why do you need to know it?
Burn it.
Just don't know it. You can't give people information you don't have. But that is actually, like I said, that's the real explanation for it. The rules for the stones exist. but they're never explicitly
Yeah, because
stated
there's that-
anywhere in the
Okay,
franchise.
so
There's that Peter Quill's. Sorry, what?
so in Infinity War, and maybe this was like me interpreting it wrong then.
I know what you're going to talk about, the Peter Quill moment.
Yeah, because he
Well,
comes back,
but
and
all
Peter
he-
Quill is like, "What'd you do?" And I think,
But again, all he knows is she went with
Don't
him.
scream.
Oh, sorry, she went with him, and he didn't. She didn't come back.
I
She doesn't
guess-
know that
yeah.
he had to do it to
I
get
get
it.
what you're saying. I still think
Because I was going to go there too, but then again,
I don't know. That's how
still
I
think
interpret
that
everything too.
Assumptions. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me projecting my assumptions on it, but that was my big.
yeah, and I had that assumption too, and me and Rob talked about it. But they never explicitly say you have to do that.
Yeah.
Because that was my reaction too. I'm like, why did she just send them there knowing one of them was going to have to die?
Yeah.
That's,
But ultimately-
it'll be a weird. point
Yeah,
for
so
me,
here's I went and looked up the script for Infinity War for specifically what is said. For the record, this was my plan. That's Quill. You're not so strong now, huh? Where is Gamora? And then Thanos says, "My Gamora." No bullshit. Where is she? Mantis says, "He is in anguish." Good. He mourns. What does this monster have to mourn? Gamora. What? He took her to Vormir. He came back with the Soul Stone, but she didn't. And that's it. That's the most that gets said about it.
Yeah,
so it's
still-
implied. It's implied that there's some sort of connection, but it's never explicitly stated.
But
and
it's
my
called the Soul Stone.
sure, but my argument for that
it's
is and will
it's
remain
imperfect.
It's true, it is. But my argument for that has always been, since it came up to me,
also
and
red.
will remain to be,
Blood red.
that what it comes down to is the only thing you can assume is that she died. Maybe he found a way to get the stone, and she was like, "No, you can't have any more," and fought him, and he killed her to get away with the stone.
I understand
You know what I
what
mean?
you're saying, Rob. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I
Yes,
just
she
think
is.
it's being a little bit too
Well,
technical about it. I feel like none of those people are stupid enough to think that they just went together and he happened to accidentally murder her on the way. That's
Oh,
where
I tripped.
that's where I have the problem.
Sorry.
I get what
No,
you're
and
saying.
I get that, but even
Right, but-
even if you go with that assumption, because that is a fair assumption. It's not like any of them are idiots.
Yeah.
They're superheroes. The question then becomes like,
Sorry.
if you assume he killed Gamora to get the Soul Stone, what's the motivation? You can't just at least I wouldn't think, especially from a hero standpoint, you can't just assume that the only way to get it would be for him to literally murder her.
But
You know what I mean?
But
Like,
not-
so
even
why
if
did he have
didn't
to?
make the choice, though? Even if you go and a choice has to be made, if there's no
Sure.
implying that Thanos made the choice, but that they had to make the choice, and Gamora wasn't going to come back with the Soul Stone in the glove, so Thanos did.
Sure.
That's kind of where I take issue with it. Like, I totally get what you're saying, and you're right. We're making assumptions, but I feel like if this whole group of people is sitting down and talking about how are we going to get these Soul Stones, and then they don't discuss why Gamora didn't come back, I feel like that's a big problem.
Sarah says Peter
That's-
Quill is not smart enough to make that connection.
That's true, though.
Peter Quill might not be, but
Gamora
Nebula,
should.
You do not
Captain
bash
America, Iron
Peter
Man,
Quill.
See, I did it.
mean,
I said Gamora, but Nebula should have been smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I
I think
get what you're saying, and we obviously need to let it go because there's more. But
I think we need to move on.
I-
We
Other
need to
grudge.
move on.
I just
I
That
mean,
was-
that
that was-
actually covers a couple of different things, I think, though.
Honestly, initially, I had two gripes.
Oh God, Kevin.
They're quick.
It's a perfect movie. Well, the two things.
No. Well, one of them at least. They've both been explained since, so they're not really gripes anymore. But the Cap sitting on the bench at the end, it kind of broke the rules they had established. They had
seemed
established.
like it did.
It seemed like it did because they established that the rules of the past can't affect what they did in the past can't affect the main timeline.
Right.
And yet, how did Cap go back and then live through everything to be there? Like it shouldn't have been possible. He should have been in a tangent timeline. And since the Russo brothers have actually, as Rob said, they're willing to explain things. They had a Q&A and they stated that
That's exactly what happened.
that's exactly
He created
he
a
created an
separate
alternate timeline where he lived with Peggy, or whoever. The assumption is Peggy.
Fair assumption, I think.
Yeah, he lived in that timeline until he was however old he was in the movie, and then he used the Pym particles to come back to that moment to be sitting on that bench to give the
To our
shield.
timeline.
To our
Right. So,
timeline.
so
And they said they'll probably explore that in further movies.
They might.
They might.
They won't, but it's possible that it will
Yeah.
get explored, is what
But-
they said.
I mean, it's really easy to explain, though. He only aged during the time that he was unfrozen to when he went back. So only a few years did he age throughout the course of the MCU.
Yeah, but
And then he continued with those 5 to 7 years, however long this
but
timeline
it
is.
had nothing to do with how he aged, but rather how he got to that bench.
His beef
Well, he went
was him
back
affecting the past.
Well, no,
And
it
how did
wouldn't
he
have.
not affect the past? And that was the thing. That's it. The way the movie structures the
Time
explanation for time travel is not very clear, and it's why the Russos have had to go on record in more than one interview explaining how these different things
'Cause-
don't actually change the MCU. Because we watched Guardians of the Galaxy, we watched Peter Quill rock and roll concert, dance his way up, and snatch that Power Stone and screw off into space with it. At no point did he get punched out by War Machine.
Right.
And wait,
So-
it explains why Nebula's still able to be out there in the universe somewhere.
Yeah,
It
and
explains why Gamora was able to kill herself and that not affect our timeline because it affected the
Nebula
tangent
killed
timeline.
herself. You did it again.
It did, yeah.
You did it backwards. Gamora's still out there. Nebula
Yeah.
killed herself.
Yeah, yeah,
I do it all the time.
Um,
I don't know what it is. But real quick, just moving on. The other small gripe was when Tony was, he's dying. I'm like, use the time stone. You're gonna undo this, right? You're gonna undo that, and that was explained as in like it's not a precise thing. They can't just undo Tony. Even when Vision gets undone, like
In Infinity
War, it's that whole area of effect. They don't just make the stone pop.
Yeah.
Vision comes back.
Yeah.
So if they had undid it.
They would have undone
Undid
what
and
Tony
snapped.
did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Me-
that's it. Those
So
are my
that's-
gripes.
That's a gripe.
I have like 1.5.
What do you got?
It's all pertaining to Captain Marvel. So I guess I was.
Her haircut.
Yes. Did you read it? Yeah. I know from the comics that she has short hair. I mean, eventually it gets there. One of
Was
my
it
bites.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just being funny.
That was actually
No,
one
that
of
was
your
my
gripes?
half. Yeah, my half
Oh.
gripe was the haircut. Yeah.
Oh.
That's
It's
serious.
apparently an issue for a lot of people.
I actually liked her long hair.
Okay,
though.
it's my gripe. Let me talk about it. So,
We interrupted this guy for like a half hour.
yeah,
It's his
absolutely.
turn.
So,
His
first of
show.
all, my wife's gripe about Captain Marvel, the movie, is that her hair, and probably most people, specifically women who probably wish they had the superpower, she can push a button, get a helmet of a mohawk sticking out, and then immediately get it back to perfect hair. So that's
That's how
probably a
hair
super.
works.
Is it though?
That's probably a superpower most people want, but then that's besides the point. But moving forward to oh dear, we did not need to see that. So just the hair in general, I thought was interesting. I found her to be more powerful with the longer hair visually. That's just my take. The other,
It's like He-Man.
yeah, the other part was just
That's something.
trying to understand. And I guess when you have the gauntlet, you can be whatever and however strong you want. But the fact that she can come in, fly in, destroy every ship and thing however she wants, just by a pinky. She
Literally just flying
Yeah,
through
absolutely,
it.
just destroy everything. And then she can barely fight off his fist. For me, that was slightly confusing, but I get it because he's got the gauntlet and it's ultimate power. But it was very interesting to see her so destructive and then struggle with the fist to fist.
And Raven mentioned it earlier. They actually showed her power because he goes, and she just doesn't budge.
No
Yeah.
reaction whatsoever.
Nothing. So he had the if you remember, she was struggling with the gauntlet,
Yeah,
and
and
to
he
get her,
grabbed- yeah.
he pulled the power stone off and smacked her with the power stone, which was fucking smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Like,
was
that's
a really
definitely
cool
smart. I
moment,
guess
too.
Brilliant move.
For me, they just set it up to make her look like the biggest thing in the world, and then
The ultimate badass.
just
The guns automatically trained on
and
her.
then
She
just
was-
couldn't win a wrestling match basically. But I mean, that was my only gripe. I wouldn't have had it any other way, but it just seemed like a little weird.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a plot armor moment, I think.
Yeah.
The Scarlet Witch thing was cool. She had him dead to rights.
Oh yeah, she was about
Like
to
she
wreck
was
his
crushing
face.
his armor, and if he hadn't rained down fire,
The second time he made it rain.
she would have.
That's true.
She would have
All right.
killed him.
Do we get everybody's gripes?
No.
Oh, dear.
Why do you
you guys
forget
keep trying
about
to
him
skip
again?
me?
Well, he did cut me off, so I think I have the
Oh,
right
yeah,
to do
I
I
so.
was
Good point.
defending you. Anyway, honestly, my only real gripe about the movie was that I felt like Stanley's cameo was weak.
Yeah.
And, I mean, what do you do? The guy's dead. Like, you can't fix it. I understand that. And they shot a bunch. But so here's my problem. They shot a bunch of them back to back when he started getting sick. Right?
Why use that one in this movie?
Why was that the last one?
They should have.
That should have been an earlier
They
one.
should have used the Into the Spider-Verse one.
How?
It was a
I
joke.
just-
That was.
I can't even deal with you right now.
That hurt my feelings.
That
it makes
that
me
made
cry
me
every
cry.
time I see it.
Oh, that was so painful. And we saw that in the theater twice.
Yep.
I cried both times.
I've seen it since and twice.
Thanks,
at least.
Raven. You are
And
not
made
the
me
only
cry.
one who doesn't listen to me, you turd.
I agree
But
with
no,
you too. It was not the best Stanley cameo that we got out of anything he's cameoed in.
Yeah.
And
I was
as
expecting
far as a
something
send
super
off
emotional.
and thank you, to go with that too as a send off and thank you. I'm going to bring this up because I know you wanted to. I'm glad I remembered.
Yeah.
If you watch Captain Marvel in theaters, we had that amazing Marvel with all the comic book stuff.
Even
Except
the
it was
Spider-Verse
all
did
Stanley.
it.
Was the Stanley one in the Spider-Verse?
Well, not the
No.
opening credit, but the end. They did a little like.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Sure, but that
But
was
in
something.
all of the Marvel films, you always have
Still.
all the comic book strip stuff and the Marvel logo loads, if you will. In Captain Marvel, we had a bunch of Stan Lees. They didn't do that for Endgame.
They didn't do
His
anything
last
for
one.
Endgame.
So here, I guess I'll play a little bit of a devil's advocate. And it's not necessarily that I believe it, but I feel like if I had to make if I was someone within Marvel or Disney to make a decision, for me, maybe we've already said a decent goodbye with that ode to at Captain Marvel. For me, I guess I would fear potentially that if you do a bigger send off in this movie, that then it becomes less about the end of this regime of Marvel Avengers and this character arc, and it becomes more about Stan Lee. And is that what Stan Lee would have wanted, is to have all that on him versus having a really good goodbye to this world we've seen for the past 22 movies?
So here's my counter to that. Endgame is not even the end of this phase.
Spider-Man
Far From
is.
Home is the last movie in Phase 3.
Sure, but this is a big.
But they're not
story
going to cover.
and
They're not going to cover
any of
the
these
loss of the
characters.
characters in that movie.
Well,
They will with Tony.
They will,
Who
yeah.
stole my name?
That's
No,
Soylent
it's not.
Bob.
It's not cool.
Yeah, they will
No,
with Tony.
but so that's my point. Like, that's my counter. We are still very much dealing with the aftermath of Infinity War and Endgame and Far From Home. That's something that the Russos and Amy Pascal have touched on repeatedly. Kevin Feige as well. As of post-Infinity War, pre-Endgame, they were like, Far From Home is going to take place effectively right after Endgame, and it will deal very heavily with the aftermath
The
of these
fallout.
two
So-
movies.
so
Which
then
we
my
saw
count-
him go back to school.
My
so.
counter to your counter then is why would you want it in the end game if we still have another movie to put it in?
Because Endgame was the conclusion of the arc.
That no, you just discredited that when I said it.
No.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you're agreeing with my stance that this is the end of that story arc, and then even though it's Spider-Man still being part of Phase 3, you just kind of said that this
My disagreement with the idea that Endgame was the end was not that it's the end of the franchise or anything like that. Far From Home is the end of the franchise cycle. Endgame was the conclusion of the story arc that was...
That's what I was saying.
The Avengers
Yeah.
story arc.
Yes, but
Definitely Tony's.
it makes more sense to put Stan Lee with the end of his stories
You know
than
what?
it is to stick it with the end of the cycle as a whole. I'm not disagreeing with one being the end or the other being the end. I'm disagreeing with the logic of why one over the other. You know what I mean?
I think the tone was better and the timing was better for Captain Marvel. I think having it also with
the
Endgame,
timing, maybe.
it's a different. You don't want that tone already. It's setting. Endgame is a very different tone than Captain Marvel was.
Well, what I think would have been at least a perfect nod to him, if not in memory of, what they could have done is the end credit scene, this playing this person, this playing this person. They could have had like all of his
But-
different characters had his signature and said Stanley.
Yeah, I agree.
Throw him in there. That,
Yeah.
that would have.
You mentioned
yeah.
it though too. If the Russos are working on a documentary, that's where they're giving the fan service.
Sure,
Sure.
and that's
Sure.
and that's fine. My problem
Something
specifically
should've.
was that they did 2 in Captain Marvel and none in Endgame. Endgame is the conclusion of an era, not the phase, not the franchise as a whole.
I'm not following anymore.
That's what I tried saying, but it's okay.
Go to bed.
I'm saying it makes more sense to go in Endgame, which is what I was saying, and then you were like, no, my counter to that, meaning you disagree with me saying it should have gone in Endgame.
I'm not going to get into the argument here on camera on mic,
gonna
but
punch you
I just
out.
think that a reason for this to have gone the way that it did is that it potentially could have taken away from the story of the movie if we start focusing too much on the goodbye of Stanley.
Yeah.
Personally,
Well, yeah, it doesn't belong anywhere in the movie.
that's just my take. So
I
let's
think
jump
it's
on to
fine,
the next
bullet point.
Redbeard says Endgame is listed as the end of Infinity Saga.
Yes, but not Marvel Cinematic Phase 3.
Correct.
Moving on.
So one of the things, did everyone get their gripes in?
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on this real quick. This should not take more than a minute, but confirmed deaths. Loki's gone.
Is he though?
Tony's gone.
Well, you say that.
Vision's gone.
Well, Loki.
Black Widow's gone.
The thing with Loki though is
Gamora's gone.
Because in that, he like took the stone. He was gone.
But then they went previously even before that.
Yeah, but he's still gone in that timeline, so he exists somewhere in the multiverse. Like he could figure out a way to get back to our main timeline.
But that's the thing. That's one of the things that I
Especially
read
with the
today
series. Oh.
was that the Russos specifically said he is still out there somewhere.
Henry says Heimdall is gone.
Yeah, Heimdall's.
Yeah, I mean, over the course of the last 2 movies, we permanently did lose several major players.
Cap, Iron Man, they're both technically. Cap's not dead, but he's gone.
They effectively killed his character
Yeah.
off.
Cap could theoretically come back.
Yeah, I was
if they
telling
wanted
him
to.
the way they did it, they left it open for him to be de-aged, recapified, however you want to word it. They didn't kill him, so he could theoretically, Chris Evans not actually. So he just wants to direct.
There were comments earlier too about somebody wanted Tony to come back. I'm like, honestly, I'm okay with Loki being gone. I'm okay with Tony being gone. I'm okay with Cap being gone. Like, I've gotten the feel of a lot of what we've seen with these characters.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing though. Robert Downey Jr. says he's not done. He wants to do more.
I don't know how you do though.
You don't.
All he actively said was that he wanted to do more with the MCU. That doesn't necessarily mean he'll be in the movies.
That's fine.
Maybe he'll just act as a consultant or something.
Him as an actor, as Iron Man, I'm okay with it being done. Because
I'm never okay
I'm going
with
to compare it to wrestling real quick. You go, but you're going to agree with me on this, hopefully. We're going to go back a decade ago. Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair. Retirement match, okay? This is that.
I'm sorry, I love you.
This is, yeah.
See, I knew.
This is that. This is that moment where we're witnessing history. Ric Flair's done. Flash forward 2 years after that, appears in TNA Wrestling, has matches. Shit matches. Like, it diminishes the moment. And if we're Tony Stark,
That's actually
Robert
what I was
Downey Jr.
saying.
were to come back and play Iron Man one more time, it diminishes that significant moment in that film.
Well, the theory, and it was just actually brought
Somebody
up.
in the chat to say.
Soylent Bob. That was my name. Don't do it.
not Soylent.
I bet it's the same thing. They stole it. I bet Tony Stark is the new AI, like Jarvis/Friday. And if he does come back, like I was talking about this with Rob the other day, he's very much the kind of person who could have figured out how to upload his personality, his brain. Because I mean, they already did it once in the MCU with Zola.
It's too much.
I don't think they will. I don't think there was any seed planted for that to make sense.
Flashback, sure, says Henry. Like, I don't.
They could use them in flashbacks, but
I want definitive conclusions. I don't want to see just things beaten and dragged out and just don't overstay your welcome.
yeah.
And
that's been one of the interesting things for this franchise for me has been their willingness, I guess I should say, to cut characters loose. How many villains do we have left?
They have a real problem.
Okay, seriously, Iron Man 1, Obadiah Stane dies at the end of the movie. Hulk, Abomination, he's still around. They locked him up somewhere. We haven't heard anything about him since then, but he's still around.
Same with the leader. He's somewhere.
The leader was teased but never actually came to fruition, so he might still be around. Iron Man 2, Whiplash, he totally died. He got blown the shit up.
Yep.
Iron Man 3, Mandarin, wasn't actually the Mandarin, but what's his name?
Ben
No, not Aldrich Killian.
Oh.
He totally dies at the end of the movie. Thor 1, Loki. He hung around for a while, but he's dead. Your next best thing in Thor was the Destroyer. Dead. Thor Dark World. Malekith.
Dead. Had a ship dropped on him.
Ragnarok. Hela and
Sir.
I was going to say Big Fire Moose. I don't know.
Both dead.
I was to say they killed them off.
Big fire.
Big Fire Moose. I don't, because I went like this.
Hey, buddy, I'm third.
They're both dead. Red Skull, technically dead.
Yeah.
Because that's not a normal human being by any stretch
He
of the word. He floats.
You're floating, man.
He's dead.
That's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer reference.
Winter Soldier. Created Crossbones. Civil War killed him.
I was just say kill him
I was
real
so
quick.
mad about that.
Real fast. He was just like, oh, you want a cap villain for
When it's
2 movies?
When it's your time to die, it's your time to die.
Quicksilver. Hero. Dead.
Yeah.
Vision. Hero. Dead. Black Widow. Dead.
Killmonger. Did you say Killmonger?
I didn't say Killmonger, but
Dead.
Killmonger is dead.
However, they want to recast him for the next film. How are they doing that?
If they're going to recast him, maybe it's a different character. Multiple people take
recast
on
him?
mantles.
They want
Well, not
Michael
the
B. Jordan.
Killmonger.
They want him back in the next Black Panther.
That's not recast.
If they want, are you saying they want Michael B. Jordan?
him. Yes, they
back?
will return casting him. I misspoke.
bring him back
Oh, okay.
Bring him,
Yeah.
the actor, back. I can't speak.
as Killmonger. Or
So-
someone
I don't
else?
know. I just know that he
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time he played a different Marvel character. Am I right?
Fantastic Four.
What movie?
Silent Bob says they promise you the name thing is a coincidence. Get off him. Silent, you stole it from Kevin Smith either way. Redbeard said this is a comic book thing, dragging things out is what they do. That's true, but the cinematic universe has been much better about putting in definitive stops for things, and that's what the point I was getting at. And Henry points out the real Mandarin is still
feel like
around.
it's-
That's also true, but is he?
What are they going to do with
Because
it?
they teased it, but now there's no Iron Man to fight him.
Yeah, there's no need for that.
So unless they're going to give the Mandarin to whoever succeeds the Iron Mantle, whoever that might be.
Nah.
But I mean, the only logical choice in that point, at that point, I think, is to keep Harley Keener as the next Iron
Boy.
character
Iron Boy.
because they were tied together by being in the same movie.
Speaking of, do you think they'll ever pull the trigger on Thunderbolt Ross? Red Hulk?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, now that we've got Professor Hulk and we're far enough removed from the garbage Hulk movies we've had, and Marvel finally, I think, is at a point where they might be able to say, screw it, who cares about distribution rights and or buy them back themselves, because that's one of the behind-the-scenes reasons we haven't had a solo Hulk movie
Universal
since.
owns the distribution rights.
Makes sense.
So, Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp
yeah,
is the only other villain that's still
Still
around
around.
somewhere.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But like
Well,
that's the thing.
No, because you're forgetting the Vulture. He's still alive. So is
That's true. He's in
Bargain.
prison.
Yeah, he got locked up.
Well, he doesn't count because he was like a background character for that movie. But
Sure.
that's more a tease for a future villain than it is a current villain that survived. So the Vulture's on that list.
As a
What, three
Spider-Man
One of the
has a
best
ton
villains.
of villains.
Oh, he's got
though.
a huge rogues,
Yeah.
rogues
There's
gallery
a
we could dig into.
Huge roster there.
Mr. Fix-It would be cool, Henry. But yeah, so that's the thing. Like, we've got 22 movies and 3 villains that walked away.
It's-
Like,
they're doing pretty
they-
good as
well-
heroes.
That's not how heroes operate.
No.
They just murder characters left and right in this franchise.
They're sleeping.
2 in Black Panther, even.
Yeah.
Because Ulysses Claw also went.
That sucked. I liked him a lot.
Speaking of characters, I want to segue into our next one, unless we have any
The guy
other
from
deaths.
Civil War is still alive. Black Panther didn't kill him.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
What's his name?
George St. Pierre, the who did he play?
Zemo. Baron Zemo.
Zemo, yeah.
He's still around.
It's pronounced Segu.
I'm done with you. Since we're talking characters, let's talk about favorite character maybe in this film and then also in the MCU. Well, whoever wants to chime in.
Well, you know who I'm gonna say.
Thanos.
Clearly.
Yeah. Spider-Man's always been my favorite, and I think he does an amazing job in these movies. Like, fantastically done Spider-Man. Like Garfield was a great Spider-Man.
Stop hitting the table.
What is his name?
He's
Tobey Maguire?
Tobey Maguire. We're blank. He was a great Peter Parker. Holland is both.
Yeah.
He does a fantastic job, and he just shines in these movies.
Yeah.
Like, he's got one of the most emotional scenes in this movie, like, hands down. And like the scene
Last
where
movie, too.
Huh? Oh yeah, and the last one too. Yeah, and like perfectly acted too. Like that ad-libbing.
I was
he
gonna
did,
say it was ad-libbed.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere like part of the scene where he says goodbye to Tony was ad-libbed too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just fantastic in the callbacks, like the action sequence, like
His ability to turn into dust, like that was ad-libbed. Holy shit!
pretty sure that wasn't ad-libbed.
So very
Oh, I didn't
believable.
know you had that kind of range.
Spider-Man in
He's
general,
a method actor,
if you
okay?
know me at all, Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel hero. So I mean, it goes without saying. You know. But in these movies, he's just fantastic.
But not amazing.
Ultimate. Spectacular.
I come on.
Thor.
Iron Man.
true.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah.
Also Cap.
Now,
You
yeah.
said it earlier.
Yeah.
But he's always been a Team Stark.
Yeah.
Even though Stark was
Day one.
So mine has. It's been a long 11 years.
Star-Lord.
So, yes. It didn't start out, obviously, Guardians was late kind of in the game. It's
Shut
more
up,
of a
Trevor.
recent character, but Star-Lord is definitely my number one right now.
He's good.
But-
I like him.
I would say, like, Cap, like, was my in the early days. I enjoyed, and we'll transition into favorite films and franchises, but I enjoyed his films as a franchise the most, and
I didn't
his
think I
was
would.
the most important of all of them. So that's why, for me, Cap was so awesome. I loved his relationship with Winter Soldier, and I loved that character too. But I find myself, I don't know, like oddly relating to Star-Lord. I just like that character a lot.
See that?
Is it because he's a jerk too?
Probably. Like I just enjoy him.
So-
Like, if I could be a character, that would be like obviously unfortunate circumstances happen to him a lot, but like that'd be
Sure.
a fun character to.
What's funny is that you mentioned Cap.
Mhm.
I don't typically like war movies. It's just my dad made us watch them all the time because that's all he ever watches as kids. And going into those movies, I was like, I'm not gonna like this. This is gonna be World War II. I'm not gonna be interested. It ended up being one of my favorite of the first phase.
It was
I'm mad I
amazing.
slept on that. I didn't see that in theaters.
I did.
See, I slept on Iron Man.
I saw Iron Man 13 times.
The only movie
didn't
I
see it in
slept on
theaters.
was Thor: Dark World, and I wasn't sad about doing that.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah, so I guess, I'll jump in with I didn't have, growing up, I wasn't a big, I loved the Ninja Turtles, and
No.
I was a big Spider-Man fan because that's what we kind of,
Which turtle are you?
today or back then?
Both.
Yes,
Back then, it was always Leo, leader. Had
see, it
to
was
be.
Mikey for me.
Leo. Then there was a phase of Donnie because he was a smart one, and I thought the bow staff was freaking sweet, and I played baseball. But now it's Mikey, easy, just funny. Gotta love it.
See, it was Mikey then Raph.
laid
for
back.
me.
Never
Pizza.
Raph will never be Raph.
Nah.
He's the
Anyways.
true leader, but
I don't want
What's
to
up,
talk
Jeff?
about it. Anyways,
that's another
so,
podcast.
Yeah, going in, I didn't have a big knowledge or loving or even just like fandom of the Marvel world going in. So for me, I wasn't really drawn towards Iron Man. I wasn't really drawn towards Thor at all. I didn't really care about Thor kind of for a while. So for me, a recent kind of like boom, easily favorite character was Captain Marvel. When she took that tick or note off her neck and just gained full power,
That was
I was
dope.
like, oh
She burned
my
out of the
gosh,
that
like
was dope.
so powerful. And then to see her, and I guess that's part of what made me so sad, to see her blow through ships and destroy, and then for a reason couldn't take on the Fist, rightfully so.
The Fist.
For me, that was she was, I think, maybe not in Endgame my favorite character, but I think
Of the MCU.
of the MCU right now, that's where it would stand.
In-game favorite character is Thor. Like he's still a movie for me.
Oh, Endgame, it was Cap, though.
Yeah, I mean, I love Spider-Man, but I gotta give it to Cap.
I think Endgame, a little sleeper pick here for me is Ant-Man. Just to come back and to have that humor. And I don't know why. I think one of the funniest things across the movie is that it was kind of like, stick with me here. It was kind of like Mean Girls, like, quit trying to make fetch work. It's not going to work. He kept trying to make time heist work, and eventually in the end, they were doing
worked.
the time heist. It is what it
Yeah.
was. And I think that was very funny.
They cast him
weird.
perfectly. Paul Rudd is amazing.
Well, how weird is it that out of all the films, the one that kind of didn't really fit in the MCU was Ant-Man, but how important
He became.
was.
I mean, he
for
rescued
everything.
half the Avengers.
Right.
In that scene where, the rest of, who was underneath there. He just,
Like he's a criminal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's more,
Ex-con.
he's
An
more of a,
ex-con.
but he's more of a Robin Hood type criminal than an actual criminal.
Sure, but still, like it's like vigilante
He didn't.
justice
He
debate.
didn't go out.
You know?
He didn't go out and just do it for himself. He did it
No.
because people were,
But
they were
again,
robbing
it's that-
poor people.
Yeah.
It's the vigilante justice debate.
Are we going to go through the films now?
Yeah, we wanna-
Best and worst, or is that not?
Was that everyone?
Well, not all of
Oh
them.
yeah, because yours was really short.
So, what favorite
What's up,
character? in
Adam
MCUs?
Cole, baby?
Oh, hey. You gave yours already. Everyone give their
baby,
favorite
baby.
characters and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one was favorite film or franchise. If you wanted to highlight
Spider-Man.
both. Spider-Man
Easy.
for you.
I-
For
Saw that
both.
coming.
They were amazing. Yeah.
Well, you've only had
But-
one Spider-Man film.
Well, but I consider like his like. I loved him so much in Civil War that like when I finally was
For
able
the
to
5 whole minutes he was in.
When I was at- seriously, no, like I loved him so much. He made that movie for me, and like when I finally got my hands on a
He
copy,
made that movie? No, the Iron Man and Cap fight made that movie
for me. Okay, for me.
That's fine.
And they did because it was the first time we got to see him.
Yeah.
They did such an outstanding job. Like he was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then like what I was saying was I finally got my hands on a copy of the movie. It was like super late at night, and I went watched the Spider-Man scenes, and I went to bed. I watched the movie the next day, but I wanted to watch the Spider-Man scenes again.
Funny. Rob?
Thanks for the follow, Adam Cole. Babe.
I don't know. It's kind of tough. I mean,
Is it for you? Really? Iron Man?
Iron Man is my favorite character,
Well-
with Cap being a very close second. But
I mean, we're talking about the franchises that you love.
that's
Franchise or movie.
Well, that's my
Yeah.
problem.
Well, both. Pick
Individual
film,
movie
and
right now, I think probably is Thor Ragnarok.
It's a good movie.
It's a great movie. It's a fantastic movie.
It grew on me really fast.
No, seriously.
From the first trailer I saw.
Right, I made him watch it because we were all of the same opinion. The first one was mad, the second one stunk, and like I was like, okay, I've heard good things about this. I haven't seen it yet. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
And Sarah, I'm pointing like she's here. Sarah was like, I'm gonna go to bed. I don't want to watch it. And we watched it. Me and Trevor and Rob, and we were like, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like I think the first trailer even had the
Immigrant Song.
Yeah. And like it was just. I was like, this does not look like a Thor movie. This looks
At
like
all.
an amazing movie.
Yeah.
And it was.
If you discount Hulk like most people do from being counted as part of the MCU, like it is undeniably they count it as part of the continuity. They reference
Stark's
it
in
happened
it.
and blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. But like most people just don't count it. If you don't count Hulk, then I think the first Thor movie was the weakest entry in Phase 1, and the second one was unquestionably the weakest entry in Phase 2.
Yeah.
But Ragnarok is probably one of the strongest entries in the franchise, especially if you discount the 4 Avengers movies as a whole.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree with that. I've
you
watched
know.
that movie so many times. I've probably arguably watched that movie more than any other MCU movie. Even
I think-
the Spider-Man movie.
Sure. If not Thor Ragnarok,
Piss
though, I
off,
think
Ghost.
I have to say the first Guardians of the Galaxy
I love that. I love
is my
Korg.
favorite one.
This should be easy laugh every
Guardians
time.
was a sleeper hit for me. I knew nothing about the Guardians and going in, and I was blown away by how much. And it was the same for
A
Ant-Man.
movie with a talking raccoon? Who cares?
I knew a little bit about Ant-Man, but more
can tell
about
you.
him than.
Yeah.
Help me out here. I'm blanking on
Gamora?
Lang. Yeah, Gamora. I knew more about him's
Nebula.
character than Lang. So like going
I
into
was glad they didn't
Ant-Man,
go with Pym because he's kind of a piece of shit in the comics.
yeah, going into the Ant-Man movie as well, it was the same with Guardian. I knew very little, and I was just like, that was
I think
actually
Ant-Man
pretty
might be
good.
my third.
Yeah,
The first Ant-Man.
I love Paul. There was a perfect casting. He's amazing in those movies.
You're never going to see this coming, but if I have to pick a franchise, I think it's got to be Cap.
No,
3 straight movies, I think
All
Cap 1, 2,
fantastic.
and 3.
Yeah.
All good.
can I change my answer? I didn't know that.
I didn't realize that was an option.
I don't know. Can we go to the judges? Is he allowed to change? No, it's a no. Sorry.
Womp womp.
And yet,
real quick, Adam asks who we are. Do we want to?
Yeah, let
We're
people
halfway
jump back
through,
in.
maybe. Yeah,
Halfway.
Just do it.
Oh dear, I hope it's not.
Jesus,
halfway.
2 hours.
Seriously.
Holy crap! I thought it was 10:05, not 10:50.
No, bro.
Anyway, so
I am
illustrious host.
Yeah, I am Caleb. This is an audio host. I wouldn't say that. I guess maybe I'm the visual host today.
This is your show.
Oh, nice.
You're running
That
it,
feels
so-
awkward. Well, let's revisit that conversation then. If it's my show, okay.
You're wrong.
So I'm Caleb.
I love the name.
Black, Bellacam, Black 12, depending on what format you find me. Inner nerd, love it, live it, am it, and that's me. I guess I don't know.
So Adam Cole, Bebe, sounds like you like wrestling, which I'm glad you do, because I'm Graf Trav, as I've been so dubbed on Wednesdays and Thursdays. You can catch me. NEW, we do a 2K Fantasy League. If you have an Xbox One, you can be part of the show. So join us on Wednesdays, Thursdays. You followed us, turn on those notifications. But again, that is who I am.
I'm Kevin Crichton, 1982, Not So Silent Bob on this channel. Yeah, I hang out with him a couple of times a week.
That's true.
super quiet day.
Super.
Didn't
I'm-
want to admit it.
I don't really associate with these guys, and I'm Locksteady Rob. I am on every Friday with Gravity Well for the weekly dosage where we just kind of get together and play. Right now we're playing the Jackbox Party Pack games with you guys, the viewers. So
83 straight weeks.
Yep,
It seems
that's
to be
true.
that I'm joining you in those lately.
He has been on
Yes,
an awful
he
lot
has.
these days.
4 in a row?
But yeah, so the whole theory behind that one is, we sit down, we play games, interact with you guys every week, and, we're looking at suggestions for future games. Anything you guys want to see us play, keep us posted. But that's who we are, Dose of Nerd Acumen.
Boom. So continuing on our
Tell your
favorite film, and tell all your friends.
And Adam Cole is a great choice, by the way.
Yes, baby. You picked your franchise, Cap. And
yeah.
your favorite film was Ragnarok.
Yep.
So
Weirdly disparate from what I've said earlier in the show.
it is. You've changed your perspective throughout the conversation. If you know me at all, you should know my favorite film in the entire franchise.
Incredible Hulk.
No. Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite film out of the MCU.
Yeah.
Great
I love-
soundtrack.
I love the soundtrack. I love the
Story.
characters. Amazingly cast, amazingly written. It touches on all the emotions. And it's sci-fi. Straight up sci-fi space. And again, if you don't know me, well, then you don't know me. But if you do, you know I love that genre. May the fourth be with you today. I'm a big Star Wars nerd. I love science fiction. I love
Space
Like that's my go-to. If it's in space, it's gonna be great, even if it's bad. Horror is the other thing too, which is why I love Event Horizon, the horror film, so much.
Oh, I
It's
can't
science
watch that
fiction
ever
horror.
again.
Oh, it's so good. Anyways, without getting off on that, as far as a franchise, if Thor Ragnarok would have been like the other Thor films, or if those other Thor films would have been like Ragnarok, rather, let me speak better.
Yeah.
Thor
Very
has
different.
high potential of being the near perfect franchise. Unfortunately, that's not true. And as much as I love Guardians, Volume 2,
Was a weaker entry by
it was
comparison.
a weaker entry. I am anxious to see Volume 3 in 2021. And
Especially.
I'm going to agree with Locke that my favorite franchise is Cap. I love the Captain America films.
Yeah.
Like, all of them are incredibly important, and all of them were fantastic.
Real quick, Soylent pointed out that Taika Waititi saved Thor, and absolutely, no
Yeah.
question. That's why I hope that he, like I said earlier in the show, he pitched a
Fourth
script
Thor movie.
for the fourth Thor, and please, yeah, especially if it's gonna have Korg in it.
Yeah.
Pay self Ghost.
Yeah, if the other films were like Ragnarok, it would have been an awesome franchise. But that's my choice.
Yeah.
You're
What do you got, Caleb?
Yeah, I would say probably favorite movie, and again, kind of just knowing that going into this world, I didn't have much of a dedication to any character specifically. I would say that it's still Captain Marvel. I'm walking away just for the pure factor of the very end when she gets full power, just kind of blew my mind open and just like, wow, that's ridiculous. I'd say still probably my favorite movie out of the franchise. But as far as franchise, what words am I trying to use here? As far as like package, I'm gonna probably give it to Iron Man or Cap. I would probably give it to probably Iron Man.
It's tough.
Probably Iron Man. Even though he's not one of my favorite characters, I think the package of storylines through his movies, for me, as far as actually just entertainment value, not value or importance to the whole MCU world, I think just entertainment value wise, I think there was a lot there, a lot of action, a lot of cool.
Oh yeah, I want my bird.
You know,
Good stuff.
I said this during the movie too. In Cap Marvel, at the end there, where she blows the Kree ships up. She would have saved a lot of grief if she hadn't let Ronan get away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just why? Why does tell him I'm coming? She didn't even say that to him. She said that to what's his face, her trainer. I can't think of even the actor's name. Watson. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Jude Law.
Jude Law.
Jude Law.
Like she said that to them. Tell them I'm coming. She had no reason to let Ronan get away,
Yeah.
but she
Yeah.
did.
Well, for the soundtrack, because if she didn't let him get away, we don't get the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. So
It was always
it's
going
for
to
the
happen.
soundtrack.
I'm just
Absolutely.
saying, there was no reason plot-wise for her to do that. She blew up his two surrounding ships and
Yeah.
just let the leader get away. It was weird.
So with every positive, there is an equal or I'm getting sciencey here. Anyways, the other side of the coin is the worst film or worst franchise.
Should we all say our worst film at the same
I
time?
mean, it's
You guys want it at the same time? 1, 2, 3.
Incredible
Dark
Thor,
World. Dark World.
Yep.
Really?
Thor: Dark World's the
Were you guys
worst.
both
of the
Incredible
MCU.
Hulk?
No, that was.
And I'm one to
Incredible
argue
Hulk
that
is
it's not even
leaps
like
and
a.
bounds
It's
worse.
not an awful movie, but
Hulk was. I liked Hulk.
There was almost literally nothing about it that I liked. Almost nothing.
see, I really like Norton's portrayal, but I hated how the Hulk looked. Like at the time, it looked great.
It looked so much better than the Eric
Bana
Bana
one.
Well, yeah, that's
Eric
like
Bana was a better Bruce Banner though.
I never saw
Sure.
that one actually.
Yeah, you missed nothing. Let me
It
tell
was
you.
so long.
Speaking of speaking of shit movies,
It was so
holy
long.
crap!
I never had any interest in seeing it, and I heard horrible things about his.
There was
size
way too much
changing.
exposition in it. For its
Are we
own
talking
good.
about the Eric Bana one?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I wanted to like, and I can't even bring myself to like it because the rest of the movie is such a steaming pile of crap, was the comic book-esque presentation of it. It was very visually distinct, especially at the time when comic book movies weren't a big thing, where they would the cuts were always like it would pull out to like a literal comic book panel
Like
and
his
shift
pages
over and then
turning.
pull back in. I thought that was so cool. And then the rest of the movie just made me wish I was in Men in Black and could just like
Yeah.
can I have those hours back?
It-
Tell me I crocheted doilies or something. Like
It did a great job of explaining the stories and the characters, but it wasn't done in an entertaining way. And it did a great job of making and selling merchandise. Because those fucking Hulk
Yes,
fists were
absolutely.
everywhere.
Yeah, still
Yep.
everywhere.
So, you know, it was a different time. We didn't know what potential lied, and
I'll tell you the other thing that hurts my appreciation of the Incredible Hulk is that it came out the same year as the first Iron Man. And again, I saw the first Iron Man 13 times in the theaters. I watched the Incredible Hulk once and never again. Because by comparison, it was terrible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even list it as my second.
As your second
Really?
worst?
Yeah,
What would you list?
Doctor Strange.
I gotta go.
I'm sorry.
Get out.
He's an.
I know it's your house, but
huge,
get out.
I'm a huge
The
huge fan
character-
of mystical arts stuff, though.
It's okay. It's okay.
I like Bendy Broom Bandersnatch too.
Yeah, the actor's fine, but it's okay.
Brock said his favorite movie was Infinity War, and his favorite character was Thanos due to the way he was delivered and how his arrival was teased for years. And I gotta say, that's probably one of the best things they've done with the MCU and the whole pitch.
That's what I hope they
Was
do with
to kind of
Galactus.
quietly be like Thanos, because it wasn't overt at the end of the first Avengers. It was just
To court them is the court death.
yeah, it was just like oh there he is, and then like nothing for a hot minute. Like there was just no Thanos mentioned at all for a while, and it's like what was that?
Yeah.
And so Infinity War and Endgame make the perfect payoff for that character, I think. But
Franchise.
I'm really-
I don't hate
What's the worst franchise?
I don't hate Dark World that much though. Everyone shits on it. I don't hate it that
I
much.
think
'Cause it's
my,
not good.
my
I don't
other-
like it,
it's
but I
not
don't hate
good.
it.
a close second worst film for me would be Ant-Man Wasp.
Really?
That'd probably be my third. I'm not
Because of just
Okay,
like
no, hold on. Let me ask this: is the perspective that it's a bad movie and belongs at the bottom, or is the perspective that of all of these great films, it's towards the lower end of the list?
neither.
combination of both.
Neither. It's because
Okay.
in the end they ended up and actually don't correct me if I'm wrong. Let me just be right. It's my show. In the end, they ended up helping Ghost, right? I mean, they agreed
Yeah.
to help her. So the whole movie was almost irrelevant if they would have just been like, "Yeah, we'll help you." Like we didn't have to go through this whole thing of back and forth, find the
Well, they
suitcase,
didn't
find
know.
the thing.
And in fact, they couldn't have known until they got
I'm
her
right.
out of the.
He just said
It's
that.
my show.
Yeah, but they couldn't have known that until they got her out of the quantum realm because she's like, I'll help fix you because she had been there and she got changed.
The way I view it is that it
brain
just seems like
wobbly.
No,
they took us through this long story, and then
So
they're
it's
gonna
like in
probably
the-
break anyways and be like, "Oh yeah,
It's
we
like
could have
in
done
the-
this 2 hours ago and no movie." So
It's like in
So
the Last
basically-
Jedi when they split off and do that whole casino world
Yeah,
thing,
very
and then it was
similar.
pointless.
God, why did they do that?
So, anyways, that's just
So,
my
what,
take
so what
on
you're
it.
saying is that movie served as a plot device to give us the post-credit scene where they got Ant-Man stuck in the quantum realm and nothing else?
I'm just saying, I just
it's-
found
it's
What
not
happened
a
to Ghost?
strong film. It's not a strong
I don't know.
film.
Because they
She
were trying
ghosted.
to fix her, and It had been 5 years.
She went from being a figurative ghost to a literal ghost.
Yeah, she ghosted.
Yeah, but I mean, did she die though? Did she get ass?
Did she die?
was
Though?
kind of
I don't know.
phased.
You know, she's
I don't
one
know.
of the characters that I don't give a crap enough about to have looked up.
So,
I don't know what
are
happened. to
we?
So we have 2 last topics real quick to kind of wrap this podcast up.
Skipped me again.
Did we? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not important.
I thought you talked about your least favorite.
Yeah,
You said you guys
yeah.
both agreed on Hulk.
Yeah, least favorite movie, but not franchise.
Oh,
I don't care. Just move
I
on.
mean, still, it's the
Hulk
same
is the
answer.
worst franchise.
There you go.
There you go.
I was gonna say.
That wouldn't have been my answer, but let's move along.
Yeah. I wanted to have like a little fun, poke fun at each other potentially, or compliment each other potentially. So I talked about it in brief already. Us as characters, like we were Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would you pick yourself to be? What would we pick each other to be? Let's just kind of poke fun at each other here.
Well, you already picked me. Why don't you tell them?
Did I?
Yeah,
What did I say?
you picked me yesterday.
What did I say?
You don't remember?
No.
You'll get there.
I was thinking about this earlier, actually. Ant-Man.
You would be Ant-Man?
I think so, because he's
Yeah.
a smart ass. He's always getting in trouble with his mouth.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
sounds like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Rob. What did I say? You have to remind me. I can't remember now.
I don't know how you forgot.
where would you put yourself?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's
thank
perfect.
You. Yeah. So
Tyler Tavon.
Rob is the collector.
You should see his collection.
He is the collector of things. He is the individual that will buy a multi-$100 video game for the box and the
Never
things
play it.
inside and never play the game.
I'm
Nor-
really enjoying Days Gone right now.
Meanwhile, what sits on the shelf?
On the
Red
shelf?
Dead.
Red Dead's not on the shelf.
Okay, but you know what I mean.
You know, I came up with a name for Days Gone. It's Road Dead Redemption.
Ha! I like that.
I'm fine
That's
with that.
Yeah, because it plays like that.
This is a man who bought the diamond loot chest edition of Borderlands 3 and was like, yeah, I might play it.
I forgot I pre-ordered it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I had to remind him that. He's like,
That's
I want to
funny.
get that. And I'm like, you did get that. And he's like, oh, yeah.
That's funny.
So yeah, Rob is definitely the collector. I'd have to agree with your assumption of yourself being Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I try to pinpoint. Obviously, I want to
I
say
was-
you're Spider-Man, but you're not like Spider-Man. You're just. A little
I'm too clumsy to be Spider-Man.
You're not naive enough, actually, I think is more what it boils down to.
Yeah.
You're
Parker
too.
seems like he'll fall for anything.
I'm too
Yeah.
worldly.
yeah.
Too jaded.
Oh, yeah, Jaded, that's for sure.
The biggest compliment I could give Caleb, you would easily be a Captain America.
Thank
Because
you.
I feel.
You do seem like a pretty stand-up kind of dude.
I
can see that.
didn't start cussing until I got in college and was on the baseball team, and they kind of did me in.
Were you one of those, oh gosh darn it people?
I was Mr. Goody Two Shoes. I had
Really?
perfect attendance in high school. You know, I missed less than 2 days of middle school. I was like never get in trouble. I walked as fast as I could between class, sit down and waited, and you know I was Mr. Goody Two Shoes. I did everything, in my opinion, for the right reasons, trying to be the better of all, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
For him, I'd choose Stark. He's
Really?
you're my tech guy. You love tech.
It's true.
Like if I have a tech question, if my computer dies, which it does, he fixes it. Like all the time.
All the time.
My wife just said I was a good person until I met Rob.
I can believe
Again,
that.
Ant-Man. There you go.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
No, you're kind of man.
Oh, she said she was a good person?
My wife was a good person until she met me.
Oh, I was like,
I'm
what
sorry.
does
I
that
got
have to do with
crossed up.
Ant-Man?
I got crossed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's why
oh,
I was
yeah.
like, what the crap?
Stark for sure. Like that's where I jumped to.
Okay.
What about yourself?
I
Brock
wouldn't-
said that Andrew would be Thanos.
Yeah, Brock.
You're not wrong. She scares me.
Did we give Travis? Did you give your own one?
I mean, I said earlier, like, if I could be someone, if I find myself fitting to someone.
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord, I mean.
I say nostalgia almost alone puts you as Star-Lord.
I just love that
the
era,
tie.
the music, like, the space stuff. Like,
Yep.
he has tech. I love tech, gadgets.
Andrew's
I
Captain Marvel.
I don't. I mean, do you guys agree? Like, is that-
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's where I put you.
So I'm happy with that.
What about you? Diagnostic.
Yeah. Where would you?
Who are
put-
you?
Who are you? Where would you put yourself?
I don't know. The whole time you guys were discussing stuff, I was trying to figure out where I would peg myself, and
Ha!
My-
Gross.
Collector.
Easy.
my
This
Is
a
that
very
that kind of
different
show? Oh my
Um,
god!
let's
Don't
head-
do that.
That's
camera.
Joseph Nude Acumen.
let's head to the basement.
Oh.
It's a throwback from earlier.
There it is.
Yeah. Oh. Full
Um,
circle.
I mean, so like my knee jerk earlier was to kind of lean into the Stark thing.
The wee knee jerk.
A full circle knee jerk. Okay.
Yep.
That sounds painful.
I'm out.
You are old, so yeah, it's gonna happen eventually. You'll
All
run
right,
out.
sorry. Finish.
No,
No, I mean, I still don't know. Because seriously, like, my inclination was to also go Stark, but, like, that sounds very egotistical, which is also very Stark.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that answers your question right there.
There you go.
Well, but, like, what I recognize in Stark that I enjoy about the character is that he's very quick to think on his feet, he's incredibly witty, and he's insanely intelligent. Like, they don't directly state throughout the course of Endgame how long he was working on time travel, but it wasn't like a couple of years.
wasn't
We're talking
very
like a week at most, where he was just like, I figured out time travel. I was bored during lunch, figured out time travel.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
You're
And
not-
that's not me.
I love
Like,
his reaction. by
You're
the way.
also not
when he was like,
selfish like Stark.
That's also very true. Sarah says, I think Rob is a combination of Stark and Star-Lord with a little bit of the Collector thrown in.
You are very much a collector.
Rob is Doctor Strange.
no, Rob is just
I
strange.
can get behind that.
I bet.
But I think the thing that I identify with the most in Tony Stark is at one point somebody calls him the Tinkerer.
Jesus, really?
I don't know.
I said Tinkerer, not
Not
Tinkler.
Tinkler? I got it.
Okay, all right.
I'm
No,
tired.
and like I love doing stuff like that. One of my favorite parts of my actual day job is right now I'm working on this project where they were like, here's this very small narrow thing that this tool we need you to build is supposed to do. And I made that work, and then they came back and went like, oh, psych, here's the new expanded scope, and now it has to do like 3 times as much stuff in a far more complicated fashion. And rather than just get pissed off that they changed the scope of what I was working on, I got excited because it gave me a new problem to solve. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, the biggest thing that I identify with in Tony Stark, and I think that was really why my inclination was to go for that character.
Yeah.
There's a long way to get around to saying, yeah, Stark. I agree.
That was it's a very Stark thing to do.
It's funny how you guys invite me on a talk show and then are surprised that I want to talk.
No, I don't think
No one's
it's
surprised by it.
We said this was going to go long.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
our closing thing is just future thoughts on the franchise. Like, where do we go from here? We obviously know in July we have Spider-Man.
I have a theory.
Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
Pete Spiderman.
We obviously know that we're going to get another Guardians film. That's
Well, they've
that's
already
confirmed.
announced, and especially having gotten Gunn back, because he was going to be the architect for the gold. Help me out here.
Good morning.
No, why is it always Gamora?
Nebula.
No,
I'll do you one better. Why is
Cosmic.
Gamora?
I wanted to say Galactic. Cosmic. The next
Cosmic.
the fourth phase is going to be Cosmic, and
Yes.
my
Cosmos.
theory is they're going to pull a Thanos with Galactus, like they're going to tease him
And build him up.
and build
to
him
be
up
the
to be the
next-
final,
yeah.
like the end game, as it were.
Yeah.
I hope they don't do it the exact same way. Like, obviously the formula works,
No,
but don't
no.
go back to that well. Don't tease them in the first couple of movies and then not do shit for 2 phases.
So my biggest question with that is, Disney owns Fox. Where does the X-Men fit, or don't they?
I have a theory about that too. I think a way they could introduce that is when Tony did a snap, maybe it added a little extra. Maybe
Yeah,
it
you
triggered.
said that's what created mutants.
Maybe it triggers the X gene.
I don't like that though.
I don't like it, but it's certainly not.
We could
Bad
also
way.
have a
It's an
house.
easy, it's an easy answer.
We could also
Yeah.
have a House of M situation, but in reverse. You know what House of M is, right?
No.
It's the.
I mean, I do, but
It's the books where. So
nobody knows that.
Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch.
House of M is a weird storyline. Nobody
She-
remembers it.
She loses her husband, Vision, right?
Mhm.
She loses Vision. He dies, and in a moment of like pure anguish, she says, "No more mutants." And
Kids
she
too, isn't it?
fills it. Yeah, she loses her family, and she fills it with all of her magic, and it decimates the mutant population. All but like 1% of them.
Thanos snap style. Just they're
Yeah,
gone.
Yeah.
but no more. Like
Well, no, I know,
1%
but, like-
of people keep their mutants. Like in the storyline, like they show specific instances. Like there's a guy who's like got fire powers and he's doing something in a volcano, and he goes. There's a guy who's phasing through the wall and he
Just get stuck.
stuck dead. And that's what I mean. Like they could do it in reverse. Like they could use her powers because they've shown how strong she can be. Like
Well,
she had Thanos dead to rights.
We are getting WandaVision show.
Yeah.
set in the 50s.
It's set in the 50s.
So,
Which what? But
Yeah,
With Vision dead, how are they doing that? That's my
I-
question, because he wasn't alive in the 50s.
yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, that's my point. Like, that's a theory. They could use her powers to do the reverse of House of M.
Silent Bob says just have Franklin Richards recreate the universe, but that's going to require
The Fantastic
getting
Four.
the Fantastic Four,
Which I'm sure is coming.
arguably easier because
Yeah.
you don't have to do anything but send 4 dudes into space. Well, 4 people into space for that.
Yeah. I don't know. I just personally I want to see the X-Men, but I'm afraid because we already have characters established by actors. Like if you bring in Wolverine and you don't have Hugh Jackman again, I'm already having a problem with it. But do we
Oh my
want
God, what's his name?
Hugh Jackman as
Just said Hugh
Oh,
Jackman.
not Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman?
Gamora.
Small Acumen. The huge one is out. He's done.
No one else left it. Then.
Nothing.
That one was for me. I don't care about you people.
What do you mean, you people?
You heard me.
Dead air is bad for a podcast.
Yeah. So here,
What
I'll jump
what
in
was
while
the
you're.
movie where he was Barnum Bailey?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
His co-star.
The singer from High
Greatest
School
Showman.
Musical.
Hugh
Efron.
Zac
Jackman.
Efron.
Hugh Jackman was in that.
He was in that. I said his co-star. Smart ass.
Zac Efron.
No, there's a very very high profile rumor that they've cast Zac Efron
I think
to
it already got
replace him as
debunked.
Wolverine.
Oh God.
I think it already got debunked.
Did it?
Well, I hope
I've
so.
seen
so.
that.
Wasn't it?
Okay,
Honestly,
hold on.
have you seen him
said-
in-
Shush, shush, shush.
No, I don't wanna see him in anything.
You're saying
Just
that.
like I don't want to see what's his face as Gambit. Did that ever happen?
No.
No, that's
Channing Tatum, that's
Good.
axed. It's
Good.
gone.
Good.
See, you're saying that, but I offer you Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Yeah. You can't.
He's
nobody-
dead, you can't-
Oh my God. You can't definitively say
Get out
no.
of
That's
this
not going to work
podcast.
with Heath Ledger on the table.
And that's DC. Get out of here.
All right, here's what I think, and this is not big scheme of Marvel and Avengers kind of moving forward. I think some very small offside thing that I think we could see, or I hope we would see, is in a future, hopefully, whether it be next or more than next Deadpool movie. There's a one-off in the Deadpool comics where they have the continuity stone, which is our continuity gem, which is like a small play off of the Infinity Stones, and basically gives whoever holds it the power to talk to the audience or the writer or the whatever. And I think that could be a fun small little nod that we've kind of passed up the era of the stones, and I think it would be fun.
Are we getting an X-Force movie?
It's up in the air.
Still.
Marvel has already announced that they are willing to do a rated R Deadpool.
Disney, you mean?
Yes, sorry, Marvel Disney. They already and they said as long as people.
Dark. Misty.
They
Gamora?
said as long. They said as long as they market it as such to adults, like very clearly, this is an adult movie. No, not a Disney-friendly
Yeah.
Avengers movie. That there is.
So maintain the existing marketing scheme for Deadpool
yeah,
movies.
there is a place in the Disney family for Deadpool. So I
Yeah.
think
I
they'll just
just-
fold them in.
Yeah, and I think that would be cool because I think the ability to throw, and I think you'll see. I would assume you'll see, the Wolverine in there somehow, just because of the way that it is.
I was so
Between them.
hoping he would just be wandering in the background of a scene, not saying anything, just
Who?
Yeah.
Deadpool.
Oh, Deadpool.
I-
In one of it, somewhere in Endgame, I was just hoping he would
He
just.
shows up at the last battle. Hey, wait a second.
Watch, people haven't finished analyzing all the combat
He's gonna
footage.
show up
He's
somewhere.
just
Oh,
like a
they
Where's
did.
Waldo.
He's going to be in a reflection.
Well, they
or
found
something.
Howard the Duck, and I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
I didn't
Wait,
see
really?
that either. Yeah, Howard the Duck was in the final combat scene. When they first all come out of the portals, he's just to the screen right of
I
Wasp.
think I actually noticed him.
I did not notice
didn't
it.
catch
I
that.
saw. I saw
Oh.
it still.
I forgot to I completely forgot about it because it was a really quick thing. But I think I remember seeing him with a big gun.
No, he didn't have a gun.
That's cool.
Nope,
But it was a
gun.
really cool moment.
All right, that's my take on what I would like to see, just as a small one-off, because I know that it's something that's been talked about, at least in research and things I've done, is that it's definitely a thing. It exists. A continuity gem is what they call it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little black thing. So
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
I think honestly, smart money would be for them to not introduce mutants to the MCU anytime soon. I think the best move would be for them to create some sort of a Disney Plus-esque TV series
That would
out
be
of
cool.
some part of the X-Men universe.
We talked about that the other night. didn't
Lay
we?
the groundwork there and let them work their way in, or leave them out entirely and just give them an ongoing TV series.
I don't know.
There's too much money to be had. I think.
Then they'd have the only other option I think would be to treat them as a whole separate universe and maybe have
I don't think they'll do that.
no have the potential for crossovers because we've already established the multiverse theory with Endgame. we've created branching timelines by removing the stones, by having Cap go back to the past, by having future Nebula kill past Nebula. We've created all kinds of branches off of the main timeline at this point. It would be very, very easy for them to create the X-Men in their own timeline, and then somewhere down in one of the next phases be like, oh shit, Galactus is wrecking stuff. Let's just merge that timeline right into ours. Now we've got all these extra heroes, and off we go.
You know, it'd be interesting if they
And then
did.
you don't have to waste any time rewriting the existing world. That's why I think the TV series could also work, because then you can lay all that groundwork off the main screen. Let us continue building the MCU as it is.
Marvel
Either
TV
one could
series
work.
have not really worked. Even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did not really.
What I think would be really cool is if they somehow brought Spider-Gwen into the Homecoming franchise, because one of her abilities is multi-dimensional travel.
I'd love to see Spider-Man. Oh, that's a nice Photoshop.
That's funny.
It's really cool, actually. I like that.
I'll get that on the stream in a minute. That looks like crap.
You look like crap.
That's hurtful what you just said.
Well, I mean, any other things that we miss? I mean, we
No,
lot.
we've covered.
Did you talk about what you looking for in the future? Oh, yeah, you went after me,
X-Men.
didn't you? That's right.
Yeah, X-Men. Just how it's done, I don't know.
Guess we'll see.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, all we can do is speculate.
Yeah, time will tell at this point. Honestly, if nothing comes out of this, it's,
Oh, I've seen that, Sarah. She said there's a whole ENDGAME trailer with Deadpool inserted. It's like he's every character.
That's amazing.
honestly though, it's been an amazing ride.
Drop chicken.
It's amazing that we've
Oh,
been
was that?
able to
Okay.
see this many films with minimal recasting and minimal issues. There have been a couple hiccups, but the fact that they accomplished what they did
Other
over the
than
last
Rhodey,
decade.
who got recast?
Hulk,
Oh, yeah.
Hulk and Rhodey both.
those are the big ones. The controversy with Guardians as a future franchise. So I mean, there have been issues. It hasn't been perfect, but
It's been a hell of a ride.
it's 2019 is a huge year. We're seeing the conclusion of the biggest story arc in cinema history, the number 5 highest grossing film as it stands right now. Later this year, we're seeing the conclusion of the 9 film story arc of Star Wars. This is a big year for nerds. A big closing year as we close out this decade in our existence. The Roaring 20s, what's going to happen?
For the fans at home, that's I just inserted a picture that was sent to me that you'll be able to see on the video playback of Deadpool suited up in the Avengers costume from the movie. Just so you guys can take a quick peek at that.
Trying to move on to
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
the Travis Lee.
That is sweet.
I took it off
You
already.
can see it. So, this has been Caleb's Dose of Nerd Audio.
Yeah, so for those listening in your car rides, when you're driving from New York to California, hopefully this lasted you the whole trip. But yeah, so this you're probably going to listen to this,
2 hours,
it's going to
19
be
minutes
episode
right now.
probably 7 on a Friday. You probably got to take the next couple months to listen through this in pieces. But I do hope you enjoyed it. Please stick through with us and keep coming back, because we're just trying to, we and I are trying to mix it up with tons of nerd culture, things that we feel, I don't know, nerdy about it. I don't know, eclectic, fanatic, whatever you want to call it. If it happens on a screen, that's my view. It happens on screen, or if it's something to do with a superhero or whatever, I think we can be a nerd about almost anything. And so I've enjoyed this ride. I've enjoyed this show. And sorry if this is, if you didn't know what you're getting into, and now you've learned about the whole movie. So sorry about that.
And now you learned what it's like to run a show with Locke and Kevin here. It's not short.
Yeah.
It's not, nothing we do is short. Even saying goodbye is not short.
That's not what your wife said.
Whoa,
that's
I like how you
Did
just
you
left.
just compliment me?
No, it was. I tried to get it in before you said that.
You tried to get it in before.
Yeah.
Awkward.
I like how you just left yourself out of that. It was with Locke and Kevin. We're the problem children.
Yeah.
That would have been the way to end the show.
That would have been amazing.
So let's do it again all at the same time. Thanks for tuning in.
That was not. You did that on purpose, didn't
Yeah.
you? You jerk.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody. We love you.
Thanks for joining us. Have a beautiful time.